What do you think? I replied, maintaining a stern expression. I felt helpless as Nian Qingyi toyed with my battle-hardened soldiers. Don't be angry. I just wanted to cheer you up. Nian Qingyi cradled Anin the fox, looking at me with innocent, soft-spoken pleas. Poor Anin struggled to breathe against Nian Qingyi's chest, squeaking as it tried to escape. Mastering divine arts and shaking the world? Why not just call me Ancestor Suyu while you're at it? I snapped. They are soldiers, not a parade troop. Don't do this again. Ancestor Suyu? I'll try that next time, Nian Qingyi teased. I sighed, feeling I'd brought this on myself. A Jinui arrived, reporting that Orc Prince Andrew had entered the capital. I was surprised by the speed. I took the intelligence report and asked, "Has my order to Baishan County been delivered?" "Yes, Marquis Wujuga has already mobilized," the Jinui replied. I nodded in satisfaction. After receiving Su Long's letter, I had identified a golden opportunity in the Northern Frontier War. I had ordered Zhuge Liang to mobilize. Baishan County was finally baring its fangs. I was set to shock the world. Meanwhile, at the palace, the first prince hosted Prince Andrew. The hall was grand and imposing. Tables were laden with fine wine and food, accompanied by the sounds of zither and bells. The hall was decorated with delicate, translucent flowers. The first prince stood beside the empty imperial throne, his rightful place as heir. "Prince Andrew, your reputation precedes you." The first prince gestured grandly. "Bring seats." Servants brought out chairs. Andrew, cloaked in black, sat down with his guards. "We are here for peace. Does the prince have objections to the treaty?" Andrew's voice was raspy. "If not, sign it so I can report to the beast monarch." The first prince laughed. "No need to rush. Rest for a few days first." Andrew sneered. "I have no time. Give me an answer today." Andrew's arrogance was backed by the Orc Empire's military might. The officials knew of the peace treaty but were ignorant of its specific, harsh terms. They looked at the first prince, confused. The first prince felt awkward and resentful. Andrew's impatience left him in a difficult position. He hadn't consulted the officials yet. Revealing the treaty's terms now would cause an uproar. Why hesitate? "Do you wish to renege?" Andrew threatened. "Do you think we fear war? Our million-strong army is hungry for blood." The officials were terrified and humiliated. "Prince Andrew, let us not resort to conflict," the first prince said with a forced smile. "Don't smile at me," a black-robed guard barked. "Insolence," a general shouted, stepping forward. "You are just a guard. You have no right to speak," the general scolded. He refused to let the orcs act so brazenly. The guard sneered. With a single sound, he unleashed a wave of internal force, crushing the officials with martial pressure. The general took the brunt of the attack, vomiting blood and collapsing. "General E!" the others cried, rushing to his side. A general checked his pulse and said bitterly, "He's dead." "Impossible. He was in the soul-shattering realm." The guard laughed. "Below the legendary realm, you are all ants. None of you are even legendary. You humans are trash." His contempt was absolute. Legendary realm. An orc guard is a legendary expert. The officials panicked. The Chantian Empire only had Su Long. The orcs had brought a legendary expert right into the capital. The disparity in power was clear. The first prince's heart sank. The capital was now at Andrew's mercy. A legendary expert could slaughter a city. The first prince had hoped for equal footing, but Andrew was using brute force. "You," an official roared. "This is our palace. I won't let you defile it. Am I wrong? Bring out a legendary expert to face me." The guard stepped forward, roaring. The pressure was suffocating. The court was helpless. "Go face God of War Su. He defeated 8 orc legends. Your empire is nothing." A general glared, teeth gritted. Su Long was the orcs' greatest nightmare, the only thing stopping their conquest. "Shut up," the guard shouted. The general collapsed, his organs shattered. With his dying breath, the general whispered, "Our empire has the god of war. He is invincible. Your days are numbered." He died on the spot. Oldly, General Lee, "Commander." Officials and generals cried out in grief and fury, glaring at Andrew and his guards. Swords were drawn, and palace guards rushed in to surround the orc delegation, insulting our race and killing our comrades. "Peace. You orc empire are nothing but insatiable wolves." A general stared at Andrew with burning hatred, growling. First Prince, give the order. We must make them pay in blood. Throughout history, the Orc Empire has treated the Changtian Empire with utter contempt, waging war or demanding peace at their whim. Their arrogance and brutality have caused the Changtian Empire centuries of suffering. Humans, the spirits of all things, hold a pitifully low status on the Four Directions continent. Orcs bully humans within the empire, while elsewhere, human nations are decimated, their people sold as slaves or livestock. Were it not for Su Long, the Changtian Empire would have fallen long ago. First Prince, order the attack. Kill this Orc Prince. Do not stain the honor of God of War Su. The northern frontier is unbreakable. We need no peace. We choose death over submission. Generals roared and stepped forward, while officials knelt, pleading for the First Prince to act. In this moment, the entire court set aside past grievances, united by their shared human identity. The Changtian Empire has survived millennia of Orc invasions precisely because they always unite against external threats. Still want to fight? You think you're Su Long reborn? The black-robed guard sneered, his killing intent surging as he prepared to strike. Insolent. The First Prince roared, his eyes cold as he glared at Andrew. Do you truly think our Imperial capital lacks legendary realm experts to deal with you? The Empire has more than just Su Long. Andrew, aware of this, smiled hoarsely and gestured for his guard to stand down. Humph. The guard's eyes flashed with cold light before he retreated behind Andrew. The court exhaled, the pressure of the legendary realm expert finally lifting. In the face of a great enemy, momentum is everything. Once lost, it is difficult to regain. Ignoring this, the court turned their eyes to the First Prince, awaiting his decision. The First Prince's eyes flashed with a strange, unnoticed light. Only Andrew understood the meaning behind that gaze. The peace terms are not entirely unacceptable, though some points require discussion, the First Prince murmured. He leaned in, whispering, Prince Andrew, what if we— No negotiation. Andrew cut him off coldly. I have brought the terms. Read them. If a single line is missing, prepare for the Orc Empire's iron cavalry. Fury surged through the court once more. A guard stepped forward and read the terms. The Beast Monarch demands an annual tribute of 100 million gold coins, 10,000 tons of grain, 80,000 carts of silk, and 50,000 sets of Ranshan realm armor and weapons. Second, the Changtian Empire becomes an Orc vassal state. Every new emperor must be approved by the Beast Monarch. As a reward, the emperor may send one heir to the Orc Empire to study martial Dao. Third, to foster ties, Prince Andrew shall select any noblewoman from the Changtian Empire to be his concubine. The guard continued reciting the dense list of demands. The first 3 terms alone left everyone reeling with rage and humiliation. It was clear, the first drained their resources, the second stripped their sovereignty, and the third was a blatant insult, treating their noble women like property. These were not peace terms, they were a blueprint for plunder and subjugation. The Orc Empire intended to crush the Changtian Empire underfoot while forcing them to feed their oppressor. The court was filled with stifled anger. A general stood up, eyes bloodshot, shouting, No. First Prince, you must not agree. Others followed, expressing their defiance. Never in history had the Empire accepted such terms. They would rather die standing than live on their knees. Andrew sneered, Think carefully. The Orc Empire is far stronger. Do you choose war just to save face? Remember, Su Long cannot protect you forever. When he dies, your nation will fall regardless. Look at other human nations. Your survival is mere luck. Choose, vassalage or death. Andrew's words pierced every human heart present. The Four Directions continent is filled with powerful races, the martial orcs, the magical dragon race, the elusive elves, and the vast sea race. These races have survived for millennia through brutal natural selection. Humans have no advantage other than sheer numbers. Their intelligence is matched by others. Without it, humans would have been wiped out long ago. Deep humiliation and helplessness filled the room. Andrew looked around, sneering. Becoming a vassal is not shameful. Every strong race has human vassal states, and they live better than before. Few human nations still resist. Your status won't change much. We only need your resources. Our beast monarch has ambitions far greater than your small empire. Andrew spoke with immense pride. Powerful races never saw humans as rivals, only as resource pools to be plundered. To them, humans were merely higher-order beasts, unworthy of existence on this continent. Andrew's words shattered the court's resolve. Most fell silent, their greed and desire for safety making them hesitate. The prospect of enduring temporary shame for a lifetime of luxury was tempting. They only needed to accept the terms and become slaves. Many clenched their fists. First Prince, think twice. Rational generals knelt, desperate. God of War Su still lives. There is still hope. If the Changtian Empire, the strongest human nation, surrendered, there would be no hope left for humanity. Those pleading were the ones who refused to be slaves. But the First Prince remained silent. First Prince, you know the choice. Endure temporary shame to survive, or anger the beast monarch and vanish from the continent. Andrew smiled. The future of the Changtian Empire is in your hands. The First Prince took a deep breath, his expression weary. To spare the people from suffering and war. I agree. He wore a mask of tragic heroism, as if sacrificing his honor for the greater good of the empire. No one noticed the brief, knowing glance exchanged between Andrew and the First Prince. First Prince, the military generals cried out in despair. Enough. My mind is made up. If my father were awake, he would agree. This is for the sake of the Changtian Empire. We cannot defeat the Orc Empire. The First Prince sighed, waving his hand with finality. The court was divided. Civil officials remained silent, while half the generals supported the First Prince. The pro-war faction was decimated. One general wept openly, his tears soaking his silver armor. General Su once said he wanted the human race to stand tall on this land and build a powerful nation. The general sobbed. His voice grew hoarse, and soon, blood-red tears streamed down his face, echoing through the silent hall. He glared at Andrew, then turned to the First Prince. Clang! He drew his sword. What are you doing? The prince demanded. The First Prince's expression darkened as his loyal generals moved to restrain the man. The crowd watched with complex emotions, while Andrew and his orcs looked on with utter disdain. A soul-shattering realm general could not change the outcome of a decades-long orc plot nearing its conclusion. The general laughed bitterly, raising his sword. The Su Prince's estate. 18 generations of war gods have died for this. Millions of warriors have fallen over thousands of years for one belief. And now, this treaty makes it impossible for us to live as men. If the monarch kneels, what is the point of my life? If I, Lu Yi, cannot live with dignity, I would rather die. General Lu. No, other generals shouted, but it was too late. Pucci. The blade pierced Lu's chest, staining the palace floor with blood, a mockery of the authorities' surrender. I will not be human in my next life. Because of this shame. The general collapsed, his eyes wide and fixed on the First Prince. In his final moments, he saw only the First Prince's cold indifference. The court fell into a stunned silence at his final words. A veteran of 15 years in the northern frontier had committed suicide, hoping to awaken the conscience of the ruling class. Some might call his death worthless, given the decaying state of the empire. Yet, this is the tragedy of a martial official when a nation chooses to abandon resistance. They possessed the spirit to defend the country, but were thwarted by royal apathy. Silence reigned. The atmosphere was chilling. After a long pause, the First Prince sighed. Take him away. Give General Lu a proper burial. Guards dragged the body away. He had died not on the battlefield, but by the humiliation of a treaty. Andrew smiled. It seems today is not suitable for talks. Let us discuss the details in a few days, First Prince. The Orc Empire sought total submission, not the exhaustion of war. Andrew knew exactly when to push and when to yield to prevent a desperate coup. Very well. I have prepared accommodations for you in the palace. I will personally host you. The First Prince replied. He seemed to have already adapted to his role as a vassal. Many officials felt a bitter, helpless resentment. They were torn between their comfortable lives and the shame of the Orcs' overlord treaty. Dismissed, the First Prince commanded. He walked toward Andrew with a sycophantic smile. The First Prince personally escorted the Orcs to the palace's side halls. Allowing the enemy to stay in the Imperial Palace was once unthinkable, yet now it was met with silent acceptance. Watching them leave, a general muttered, "If General Su were here, this Orc Prince wouldn't be so arrogant." "Hush," a civil official whispered. "Do you want to die? Don't let the first prince hear you." Everyone knew the first prince had already agreed to the treaty. The assembly was merely a performance to force acceptance. The general sighed. General Su is gone, but the Su prince's estate remains, and there is still the young prince. The mention of the useless prince sent a shiver of bitter hope through the crowd. It was pathetic that they were now pinning their hopes on a wastrel. "Dismissed," someone shouted, and the crowd dispersed. By afternoon, the news had spread. The citizens and martial artists of the imperial capital erupted in fury, their cries for resistance echoing through the streets. Why agree to this? Ceding land, paying tribute, and handing over our noble women. It is a humiliation to the Chengtian Empire. 3 generals died in the hall today, heroes of the northern frontier. The royal family watched them die without a word. The Su prince's estate still stands. Why sign this? If this treaty is signed, the spirits of those who bled in the north will never rest. The public's anger ignited a sense of national pride and grief. Many realized this treaty was a blade aimed at the spine of the human race. It was a treaty designed to break their spirit, but at least some remained willing to fight to the death. That evening, the first prince issued a new order. Anyone inciting unrest or causing trouble shall be executed. He chose tyranny to ensure the treaty was signed, regardless of the risk of rebellion. Within 3 days, countless people were arrested or killed. The public's anger was forcibly suppressed. 3 days after the Orcs' arrival, the final details of the treaty, including the selection of a noble woman, were to be finalized. No one knew whose daughter would be sacrificed, a princess or a noble's kin. Everyone lived in deep despair. On the evening of the 3rd day, 3 young nobles knelt before the Su prince's estate, their faces streaked with tears of hatred and grievance. "Young Master, you've knelt for a full day? Please, return home. The young master is in the study for important matters. Come back later." A traversing camp warrior stepped forward to persuade the 3 young nobles. These 3 were the heirs of the Yi, Lu, and Li families, staunch supporters of the Su prince's estate. "My father was murdered, the capital is in chaos, and the empire is at risk. With the god of war away, we only have the young master to turn to." The Yi heir's voice was hoarse, his tears long since dried. 3 days ago, their fathers were killed in court over a treaty. They were desperate, and with no other options, they pinned their hopes on the Su prince's estate. "If the young master needs a stance, my Lu family offers 2,000 private soldiers to help him force the palace." The Lu heir spoke with grim determination. "The god of war is gone. We rely on the young master. If he won't step out, we will never rise." The Li heir added, his voice heavy with grief, "I would rather die kneeling here than live as a slave." In truth, no one held out hope for these 3, or rather, no one believed in me. Even though I was no longer a trash heir, the public still struggled to trust me. I wasn't the legendary god of war Su Long, who remained in the northern frontier. Without him, the people saw no hope against the first prince's tyranny. The traversing camp warriors sighed and stepped aside. Passers-by watched the 3 stubborn figures, silently longing for someone to lead them toward a glimmer of hope. Like all humans in the Chengtian Empire, they refused to accept being slaves to the Orcs. Inside the study, I sat motionless, clutching intelligence delivered by the Jinyui. I had waited 3 days for this news. Refusing to be human in the next life due to shame? What a pathetic excuse. I stood up with a faint smile. The women beside me looked on with concern. Are you sure?" Military advisor Nian looked at me, whispering, "You could wait for the general to return. It's too late. If this treaty is signed, the human race loses its backbone. The Su prince's estate cannot hold the line alone." I smiled calmly. Nian persisted, worried about the legendary realm martial artist guarding Andrew. My intervention would be life-threatening. The first prince and the Orc Prince would never let me interfere. Enough. My eyes were cold. I have fought across thousands of miles and faced millions with a single sword. I do not fear war. "Bring those 3 in," I ordered. Gao Shun, waiting outside, bowed deeply. Understood. I was ready to make the entire Orc Empire tremble. Outside, the three heirs knelt, their knees swollen but their resolve unshaken. A traversing camp warrior approached them. The young master invites you inside. The heirs were overwhelmed with relief. I knew it. Brother, you won't abandon us. They stood up, helping each other as the gates of the Su prince's estate finally opened. A chilling, murderous atmosphere permeated the estate. The next morning, the officials gathered in the Imperial palace, exchanging nervous glances. The air was heavy. Today was the day the treaty with the Orc Empire would be finalized. The first prince arrives. The first prince entered, chatting merrily with Andrew and his entourage. The officials felt a bitter sting. They had supported this treaty 3 days ago, and now there was no turning back. The Empire is eternal. Today we sign the treaty. Let us support our suzerain, the Orc Empire, and make them the masters of the Four Directions continent. The first prince announced loudly. He was already calling them suzerain. The officials bowed, shouting half-heartedly, "We will support it." Excellent. The first prince turned to Andrew. "Prince Andrew, shall we begin?" Andrew nodded. A guard stepped forward and read the new treaty aloud. The officials' faces turned pale as they listened. The treaty had been revised. The terms were even more humiliating than before. The demands for supplies, territory, and the surrender of 10 noble women to Andrew had all doubled. The officials hung their heads in silence. The reading concluded. The first prince smiled. "Prince Andrew, I have selected 10 noble women. If you are satisfied, we shall sign." "Read them," Andrew said arrogantly. The attendant read the list. The daughters of the Liu, Yi, and Li families, and military advisor Nian, Lingener, and Shangwan Waner from the Su prince's estate, to be gifted as concubines. Effective immediately, deliver them to Prince Andrew's residence. The court was stunned. Everyone was shocked. The first prince was targeting the families of the fallen generals and even the Su prince's estate. It was a blatant act of vengeance. "Prince Andrew, are you pleased?" the first prince asked fawningly. Andrew hesitated. "The 3 from the Su prince's estate. Let's swap them for others." Andrew feared provoking the person behind the Su prince's estate. "Oh," the first prince insisted, "don't worry. They are the most beautiful in the capital, especially Nian. You won't find better." The first prince openly objectified the women, disregarding the Su prince's contributions. He was determined to hand them over. Andrew frowned, but his legendary realm guard stepped forward. The black-robed guard rasped, "Military advisor Nian? Perfect. We want her." He turned to Andrew, bowing low. "Your Highness, you must agree. Capture that woman and let us torment her." If Su Long was the Orc Empire's greatest threat, Nian was second. Her tactical brilliance and knowledge of Orc weaknesses had repeatedly saved Su Long, turning the tide and inflicting heavy losses on the Empire. Every Orc knew her name. She was feared as a beautiful but lethally cunning human. Eliminating me and Nian was the Empire's long-held dream. Andrew frowned. "No, choose someone else." Previously, he would have relished humiliating the woman responsible for so many Orc deaths. But now, Andrew lacked the nerve. He didn't fear Su Long or the Black Jade Cavalry. He feared the man behind the Su prince's mansion. The first prince, assuming Andrew found the noble women lacking, whispered, "Is she not beautiful enough?" After a moment, the first prince gritted his teeth. "My fiancés will return to the capital soon. If these women don't suffice, I will gift them to you instead. My fiancés are Su Huimi and her sister, the daughters of Su Long." The first prince stared at Andrew, eyes gleaming. He believed this offer would surely tempt Andrew. The court gasped in horror. The officials stared at the first prince in shock. It was shameless, trading away his own fiancés, who weren't even his yet, just to spite the Su family? The officials felt a chilling despair. If the Su prince's mansion could be insulted this way, what hope remained for them? "Excellent. Su Long's daughters and the Su household maids. I accept on behalf of my master." The legendary Orc guard laughed. "Su Long, you never imagined your family would suffer while you bled for the Empire." Andrew looked terrified, as if hearing a death sentence. "No, absolutely not. Change the terms. I don't want the Su women." Andrew roared. "Why, Your Highness? The Beast Monarch would surely approve." The legendary guard looked at his master in confusion. "Perhaps the prince is shy." "It is settled. The 10 noble women plus the Sioux sisters, the first prince laughed. Before he could finish, the palace doors were kicked open with a thunderous crash. Who goes there? Everyone gasped. A cold voice echoed. The women of the Sioux prince's mansion are not for you to trade. The voice was chilling, like a demon from the abyss. I will not allow such insults. A proud figure in white robes stood at the entrance. Sunlight glinted off my blade as I scanned the room with murderous intent. Silence fell. It's Suyu, someone whispered. Andrew trembled, sliding from his chair in despair. The master himself had arrived. I had come, followed by Gao Shun and the traversing camp. The soldiers' armor and weapons gleamed, filling the hall with a murderous aura. I strode in with Sujio, my face dark. The first prince shouted, "How did you get in here? Had the palace guards gone blind?" The legendary orc guard sneered, his eyes glowing with beastly malice. This was Su Long's son. The orcs radiated killing intent. "Get out. Are you trying to rebel by storming the palace?" The first prince pointed, hiding his panic. I was a madman to force my way in. I ignored the prince, my cold gaze sweeping the room. My silence and mocking look made the officials hang their heads in shame. Compared to the loyal Sioux family, their actions were treasonous. "Suyu, did you hear me?" The first prince barked, afraid to order an attack. He lacked the high-level combatants to face me and my Nirvana realm guard. He feared being the first to die if he provoked me. "Did I give you permission to speak, traitor?" I asked coldly. The first prince turned red with rage. "I am the crown prince. A traitorous son who betrays his race has no right to lecture me." I pulled out a golden object and held it high. "The Emperor Lord's token," the crowd gasped. The first prince's pupils constricted. The token was a relic from the founding emperor. It granted the holder the authority of the emperor when the monarch was incapacitated, a supreme honor usually reserved for the heir. The old emperor had entrusted it to the Sioux family for times of crisis. It was my trump card, sent alongside Su Long's letter. So that's how he entered. Someone muttered. For millennia, only the Sioux family and the heirs had held such power. "The token is here. Kneel." I stood sternly. The officials knelt in unison. The first prince remained standing, his face twisted in fury. Damn it. Su Long gave him the token. He knew the emperor had given it to Su Long before the succession was finalized. It had cemented the Sioux family's prestige. Due to the crown prince's incompetence and the emperor's illness, I am ordered to restore order and uphold the empire's dignity. My voice rang out. I will handle the alliance negotiations myself. What about the first prince? A general asked. I sneered. He is violent and lawless. I hereby strip him of his status as crown prince, pending the emperor's recovery. The room gasped in shock. I stripped the first prince of his crown prince status and seized control of the Orc Empire peace treaty negotiations, voiding all previous promises made by the first prince. Wielding the Emperor Lord's golden tablet, my aggressive stance shocked the court, while the first prince seethed with impotent rage. Only the absence of his sole Nirvana realm expert and the delicate political situation stopped the first prince from ordering my immediate execution. You are no longer the crown prince, I stated coldly. The first prince could only sputter in fury. The first prince glared, red-eyed, unable to utilize the Qingtian Empire's hidden trump cards, which were reserved only for existential crises. With the Emperor Lord's golden tablet protecting me, I was untouchable. I dismissed the first prince's pathetic posturing. I turned to Andrew, declaring the previous peace terms void. If you want peace, show some sincerity. We are redrafting the treaty. Andrew's black-robed guard, a legendary realm expert, stepped forward, sneering, what if we refuse to change the terms? Confident in his legendary realm strength, the guard feared neither the army nor the Nirvana realm experts present. The Orcs, driven by Imperial interests, refused to yield, especially to a descendant of the Sioux Prince's mansion. You don't want to change the terms? That's simple enough. I smirked. We can keep the terms, but we are switching sides. As I spoke, the court officials realized my intent, a collective realization dawning upon them. A surge of exhilaration swept through the crowd. My defiance was deeply cathartic. All eyes remained fixed on me, filled with a mix of anticipation and awe. A quiet moment passed. Switching, the black-robed guard sneered. How do you propose we do that? I demanded. 100 million gold coins annually, 10,000 tons of grain, 80,000 bolts of silk, 50,000 sets of Ranshan realm armor and weapons, the cession of 1,000 miles of northern frontier territory, and 10 noble orc women to serve the Su Prince's mansion. The court fell into stunned silence as my bold demands echoed through the hall. I had essentially mirrored the orcs' own arrogant demands back at them. The officials were ecstatic. This was the true, domineering spirit of the Su family. They felt a long-awaited sense of vindication. Only the Su Prince's mansion could negotiate with such authority. Few noticed that I spoke entirely on behalf of my own estate, completely bypassing the Qingtian Empire. Humph! The black-robed guard roared with killing intent. Suyu, do you have a death wish, daring to make such demands of the Orc Empire? I am speaking to a dog, I replied calmly. Your master hasn't spoken yet. Yet you, the dog, are already barking. You, the guard stepped forward, radiating murderous intent. Do you truly think I dare not kill you? Kill him. As an Imperial Prince, I guarantee your safety, the first prince shouted, desperate to see me dead. The officials exchanged looks, their disgust for the first prince deepening. To incite an orc to kill a loyal subject's son was a disgrace to the entire human race. Even the first prince's former supporters felt a chilling sense of betrayal. Humph! The guard advanced, his palm wreathed in dark green internal force and lethal gang chi. The oppressive aura of a legendary realm expert crushed the breath out of everyone in the hall. Paralyzed by the guard's power, the onlookers could not even twitch a finger. Suyu struggled against the pressure, preparing to intervene, but I remained unmoved. Suddenly, Andrew roared, "Stand down." The guard froze, his hand raised, caught in mid-strike. I said, "Stand down, you fool." Andrew snarled. The guard, stunned, glared at me before retreating. As a high-level orc warrior, the guard's loyalty to Andrew was absolute. The tension broke, yet I remained perfectly calm, having not blinked once. Ahem. Andrew stood, bowed to me, and said, "Andrew greets. Young Prince Su." Andrew panicked internally, remembering my order to keep his status as a slave secret until he became Beast Monarch. I waved him off dismissively. The court was baffled. Why was the Orc Prince so submissive to me while arrogant toward the first prince? Though they didn't understand the dynamic, seeing Andrew's deference provided them with immense satisfaction. Many wished that all humans could command such respect from the orcs. Young Prince, these terms are difficult to explain to the Beast Monarch. Could we perhaps revise them? Andrew asked, smiling nervously. Andrew was terrified of offending me, his true master. He cared far more about my approval than his own position as Beast Monarch. Modify the treaty? I smiled coldly. No, I'm not changing a thing. It's perfect as is. Insolent. How dare you speak to my master like that? The guard lunged, but Andrew slapped him across the face. Smack. The guard stood stunned, clutching his cheek in confusion. I said, "Be quiet. When I speak to the young prince, it is not your place to interrupt." Andrew barked. Andrew's tone was brutal. He would sooner execute his own guard than let him offend me. As a demon's servant, Andrew viewed me as his absolute faith. An insult to me was an unforgivable sin. The guard hesitated, still defiant. Andrew revealed his true lion-like visage, unleashing a bestial roar directly into the guard's face. "I told you to get out." Andrew growled. Humiliated, the guard retreated to the corner and crouched on all fours like a dog. "Andrew, your guard's aggression is unnecessary. We can still discuss the terms of the alliance." The first prince tried to regain control, but Andrew roared. "Silence, you deposed crown prince. You have no right to speak to me." The first prince recoiled, cowed. Humiliated yet terrified of Andrew's status, the first prince fell silent, his heart filled with bitterness. The court watched in terror. Andrew's reputation for bestial, arrogant, and violent behavior was well earned. They feared he might snap and order his legendary realm experts to slaughter the entire imperial capital. Yet, the unexpected happened. Andrew's murderous, wild demeanor vanished instantly, replaced by a fawning, submissive expression. The transformation was jarring. "Young prince, I represent the Beast Monarch, but I truly cannot authorize the conditions you've demanded." Andrew bowed slightly, pleading, "Could you please relax the requirements? My authority is limited." The court gasped, staring at me in shock. They didn't care about the guards or the first prince's fear. They were stunned by the magic I held over the arrogant Andrew, who was now practically groveling. A surge of pride swelled within the officials. It was the same nationalistic confidence they felt when God of War Su Long sent his first victory report from the northern frontier. I had instilled in them a deep, bone-level pride in being human. What did an orc or a legendary expert matter? Before me, even the strongest enemies had to yield. I said, the terms are non-negotiable. I stared coldly at Andrew. The Orc Empire will provide everything owed to my estate. The peace treaty stands as written. This. Andrew looked on the verge of tears. Young prince, I truly cannot. The beast monarch will never agree. He will, I replied calmly. The court stood tall, feeling a sense of righteous triumph. With me and the Su prince's estate, who dared to act insolently toward the Qingtian Empire, my absolute dominance left everyone trembling with excitement. This was the spirit of humanity. Andrew, though skeptical of my confidence, remained silent to save face for his master. Who do you think you are? The first prince sneered, seizing the moment. Do you want to plunge our people into war with your arrogance? You're nothing but a butcher. Oh, I smirked. So you admit these are humiliating terms? Why did you sign them then? The first prince was left speechless. Stiffening, he stammered. I did it for the sake of the people. Coward, I retorted coldly. The word stripped the first prince of his dignity. The court turned away, looking at him with undisguised disgust. Everyone knew a lie when they heard one. The first prince clenched his fists, glaring at me with pure hatred. Suddenly, rapid footsteps echoed outside. A guard burst in, ignoring protocol, and knelt before me, holding a scroll aloft. Young master, great news. A report from the northern frontier. The guard had been waiting outside the city for the messenger, and his patience had paid off. Read it, I commanded. The guard opened the scroll. I, Su Long, led 200,000 Black Jade cavalry, 150,000 auxiliary troops, and 30,000 new army soldiers in a night raid. With the help of Mr. Zhuge from Beishan County, we used fire at Luoma Ravine to incinerate 110,000 orcs. Following the Emperor's teachings, we have captured over 10 counties and 2 major cities. Using Mr. Zhuge's strategy, the Black Jade Cavalry has set a trap for the remaining orcs. The northern frontier has achieved a great victory. The guard roared the final words, venting centuries of suppressed resentment against the Orc Empire. The hall fell into stunned silence. Impossible, the Orc guard shrieked in disbelief. Andrew, however, breathed a sigh of relief. My foresight was truly godlike. The tables had turned. The Orc Empire was now on the defensive, having lost the initiative. The first prince collapsed, his legs failing him. He never imagined Su Long would launch a counteroffensive and secure such a monumental victory. It was a legendary feat of expansion against the mighty orcs. The officials were overcome with adrenaline. Is it true? An old general asked, voice trembling. It is, the guard confirmed. This is the God of War's personal report. The court erupted in cheers and tears of joy. Military generals laughed and wept, casting aside their composure. Even the civil officials were flushed with excitement. And who is this Mr. Zhuge, whom the God of War praises so highly? An elder official asked. All eyes turned to the guard. Even the first prince glared, blaming this mysterious Zhuge for the shift in the war. To answer you, my lords. The guard stood proud. Mr. Zhuge's full name is Zhuge Liang, courtesy name Kong Ming, known as Wulong. General Su claims his intellect rivals or even surpasses that of military advisor Nian. A genius of that caliber? Someone exclaimed. This was incredible news. If one Nian was enough to trouble the orcs, what could 2 geniuses achieve? Many officials began plotting to recruit this Zhuge for their own factions. Controlling such a figure would grant them immense power in the capital. The guard's next words shattered their dreams. Mr. Zhuge is from Beishan County and serves as my young master's personal strategist. He has stated that without my recognition, there would be no Zhuge Liang. The guard spoke with immense pride. They realized that while the God of War was mighty, my strategic vision was equally profound. I was no waste. I was a true genius of the age. The hall fell silent as everyone stared at me in awe. News of a major victory in the northern frontier shifted the political landscape. all thanks to my strategist, Marquis Wu Zhuge. The court realized this was my masterstroke, a display of audacity and brilliant planning. The first prince seethed, realizing I had seized all the glory. Consumed by hatred, he vowed revenge. The first prince's eyes burned with malice. He no longer cared about the political fallout, only my death. He felt he could not vent his hatred without killing me. Do you still think the Beast Monarch will refuse this alliance? I sneered at Andrew. Andrew bowed respectfully, asking for a few more days to consult the Beast Monarch. Granted, I gave him 7 days, warning that regardless of the outcome, the Orcs must vacate the Imperial capital afterward. I kept Andrew alive, intending to use him as a puppet to eventually seize the Beast Monarch's throne. Andrew remained submissive, showing no anger at my harsh tone. My command to leave the capital filled the court with pride, and the officials stood tall. It was a sense of human dignity the first prince had never provided. I glanced at the first prince and added, I almost forgot one thing. The crowd watched with curiosity. The first prince trembled, wary of what I would do next. I declared, due to the first prince's incompetence, I strip him of all duties, annul his engagement to the Su prince's estate, and place him under house arrest in his palace until the monarch awakens. The cold, decisive order stunned the court. I was effectively crushing the first prince's political future entirely. You can't do this, the first prince roared in terror. Without power, he was nothing, and the prospect of the monarch waking up terrified him due to his past crimes. Suyu, take him away. Ignoring the first prince's protests, I turned and left the hall. No, the first prince screamed in despair. Suyu coldly dragged the struggling first prince to his quarters for confinement. Only the first prince's status prevented me from executing him on the spot. Move. Andrew and his guards departed to verify the Northern Frontier reports through their own intelligence network. The court soon dispersed in silence. News of the victory and the first prince's downfall spread through the Imperial capital within hours. The public was most thrilled by my forceful humiliation of the Orc Prince and the imposition of a shameful treaty. The people felt a long-awaited sense of vindication. Cheers for me, and the Su Prince's estate erupted throughout the city. The capital was in a festive fervor, with everyone praising my name. Andrew and his men stayed hidden, frantically gathering intelligence. Andrew even disciplined his arrogant Chuancha-level bodyguard for disrespecting me. He forced the guard to kneel for 7 days, prioritizing his master's orders over the guard's pride. The guard had no choice but to obey Andrew's absolute command. Over the next week, reports of the Northern Frontier campaign flooded in. Marquis Wu Zhuge's forces decimated 150,000 orcs and captured 110,000 more. I personally led a night raid, killing an orc Chuanchi and capturing a city. Marquis Wu Zhuge used the 8-guarded formation at Pingmachuan to annihilate 800,000 orc troops. When 8 orc Chuanchi attempted to assassinate the Marquis, I returned, killing 6 and wounding 2 at the cost of my own arm. The impossible victories left the public breathless. Every new report brought the citizens to tears of joy. For the first time in millennia, the Chantian Empire was successfully counterattacking. Marquis Wu Zhuge's tactical genius had completely outmaneuvered the Orc Empire. On the 7th day, the final report arrived, sounding like a dream. While the Orcs chased the Marquis, I led 100,000 Black Jade cavalry to surround the Orc Imperial capital and finish off the remaining wounded Chuanchi. The news left everyone in shock. I had actually besieged the Orc capital. The strategy was beyond comprehension. The impossible had happened. The Orc capital was under siege. People wondered how the Empire had become so powerful, and their thoughts turned to me. The Marquis was, after all, my protege. As the public focused on me, I was already back in the palace. 7 days are up, Andrew. Will you sign the treaty? I stood in the seat of power, my voice cold and commanding. 7 days ago, the first prince had groveled here. Today, I stood tall. The officials felt a surge of pride as they watched the Orcs. Andrew feigned bitterness, asking for more lenient terms. With their capital under siege, the Orcs were in a desperate position. The citizens of the Imperial capital felt the Orcs had no room to negotiate. A general stepped forward, mocking Andrew's sudden loss of arrogance. You lot are spineless, the officials sneered. Only when the young prince strikes do you realize there is always someone stronger. If the beast monarch refuses the treaty, I will raise the orc capital by tomorrow. The court officials spoke with cold, arrogant confidence. Their words left Andrew embarrassed, and his legendary realm guards furious, yet helpless. Enough, I interrupted. Dismiss the court. Andrew, stay. I waved my hand dismissively. Understood. The officials bowed and left, assuming I wanted to negotiate the treaty privately to avoid humiliating Andrew and forcing the Orc Empire into a desperate corner. Once the room cleared, Andrew exhaled in relief. He knelt immediately. Master, Andrew greets you. Playing the role of an Orc Prince while serving me had been agonizing. Rise. I asked, what is the Orc Empire's bottom line? Master, Andrew replied. The Beast Monarch wants to stall until the main army returns to counterattack. If that fails, I am authorized to sign a treaty, provided the demands are reduced by 1/3. The Beast Monarch assumed I shared Su Long's rigid, tyrannical nature, so a 1/3 reduction seemed like a significant victory. I mused. I will cut the demands by half to boost your standing. Don't agree immediately. Act as if you are suffering and fighting tooth and nail for the Empire's sake. You understand? When you return, I will claim the northern frontier withdrew solely due to your efforts. I understand. Thank you, Master. Andrew was thrilled. I never intended to conquer the Orc Empire with Zhuge Liang's limited forces. I wanted to sow chaos and extract maximum profit. The Orc Empire was too strong for Zhuge Liang's million troops to destroy. Zhuge Liang's current success already exceeded expectations. I needed to withdraw while ahead, preserving strength before the orcs could regroup. By manipulating the treaty, I would grant Andrew the prestige needed to become the next beast monarch. My goal was not destruction, but total control. War is about profit, and my ambitions far exceeded the first prince's imagination. Take this, I said, handing over a Jinui token. If you receive intel on orc troop movements, notify the north immediately. If the beast monarch counterattacks, our forces will withdraw. Announce the treaty before they leave. Keep this secret. The orcs would never suspect their favorite prince was my slave. I was destined to win. I understand, Master. Andrew's eyes glinted. No one will ever know. I trusted my servant's loyalty. The demon contract came from Mr. Bai Yan's system, a power bordering on godhood. Go. Andrew exited, his expression shifting from reverence to profound sorrow. Your Highness, his guards cried, rushing to his side. Seeing his pained expression, a legendary guard roared. Did that Su brat bully you? I'll kill him. No, Andrew whispered. The palace hides power capable of slaughtering legendary experts. Do not act rashly. But, Highness. Andrew breathed deeply, feigning martyrdom. The war has turned. I must sacrifice everything to reduce the treaty's terms and force Su Long to retreat. I will not return home until it is done. The orcs were moved to tears. The war looked hopeless, and the average orc believed their empire was on the brink of collapse. Yet here was Andrew, enduring humiliation to secure their future. The spies sent by the beast monarch to observe him were deeply impressed. Andrew was clearly the only prince fit to rule. As they left, I received a Jinui report. He's quite the actor, I chuckled. With the prince's cooperation, I no longer feared the northern situation. I had one final task. Returning to the Su prince's mansion, I bypassed my family and went straight to my study. System. Cultivate the Abyss Demon Hound Legion. I needed to bolster my military in case the orcs turned desperate. I did this to protect Su Long and the estate, who would be the first targets of any orc counterattack. Load into this study. A dark light filled the room. The floor cracked, and an altar rose. It was pitch black, carved with evil, swirling demonic runes that radiated a strange energy. I was intrigued. I had never seen such an altar in my virtual barracks. The system prompted me. Select the number of abyssal demon hounds. Cost, 100 public support energy per hound. Unlike human legions, this required only public support energy. This was convenient, as it removed the need to recruit human soldiers. Start with 1. I commanded. I needed to test their strength before committing further. Flash. Black light erupted from the system, consuming 100 energy as the dark essence swirled around the altar. A series of sharp, mechanical sounds echoed. The black altar began to rotate, emitting an evil, potent energy accompanied by dense black mist. As the mist cleared, a 2-meter-tall, pitch-black beast resembling a giant hound appeared on the altar, letting out a roar. The beast growled, its gaping maw dripping acidic saliva that hissed upon hitting the ground. With copper-bell eyes, razor-sharp claws, and steel-like fur, the creature radiated a fierce, malevolent aura. I checked its stats via the system. Name, Abyssal Demon Hound. Race, Demon/Canine. Loyalty, 100. Rank, Special. Strength, Viceway Realm, Tier 1. Skill, Berserk, Active, plus 30% attack/defense. Talent, Bloodlust, Passive, plus 50% speed when sensing blood. I was impressed. I nodded, noting the creature's uniqueness compared to human troops. Unlike the human army, the Abyssal Demon Hound possessed a complex, detailed attribute profile. Its innate active and passive abilities made it a top-tier unit. Truly a special-grade Legion unit, I remarked. I knew the Abyss Plane held even greater threats like Abyssal Knights and Magic Dragons. I resolved to seek more blueprints from Mr. Bai Yin. I beckoned the hound. It responded with a mix of a roar and a bark. Upon seeing me, the beast's aggression vanished, replaced by a domestic demeanor. It hopped off the altar, circling my feet like a pet. One had to ignore the corrosive, hissing sounds its claws made on the floor. Regardless, its combat prowess was undeniable. I worried about housing these chaotic creatures alongside my other troops. I consulted the system. I feared the chaotic nature of demons would cause instability if mixed with regular soldiers. The system had already anticipated this. System, special grade units are stored in a dedicated Legion space. You may summon them at will. The notification chimed. I realized this was perfect. I could hide my forces for tactical surprise. With hidden demon legions, I would have nothing to fear from the Four Directions continent's powers. Store it, I commanded. The hound vanished, ready to be summoned instantly. Efficient and powerful. I smiled and ordered the system to continue production. System, please specify the quantity. They will be stored in the Legion space. The system prompted me. With 400,000 public support energy, I decided to spend 200,000 to produce 2,000 Abyssal Demon Hounds. 2,000 Bysar Realm warriors were equivalent to tens of thousands of regular soldiers, enough to shift the Northern Frontier War. The Imperial capital remained abuzz with praise for me, the hero of the Su family. No one dared call me a waste anymore. My recent feats had electrified the public. The city celebrated my legend with lanterns and discounts, a festive atmosphere honoring my transformation. Inside the Su Prince's mansion, the courtyard was now filled with blooming begonias, butterflies, and bees, creating a vibrant spring scene. In the quiet room, incense smoke curled, adding to the serene atmosphere. I lay back, resting on Linganur's lap while reading a scroll. Shangwan Wanner peeled lychees for me, catching the pits with grace. Nearby, military advisor Nian played a melody on her zither. The elegant music filled the room with joy. I savored this rare moment of peace after my relentless struggles since acquiring the system. I took a lychee from Wanner, playfully brushing her finger with my lips. Wanner blushed, her beauty rivaling the others. She looked exquisite in her yellow gown, her expression gentle and tender. Her dark hair and jade pin complemented her elegant, curvaceous figure. "You're bullying Wanner again," Nian teased. I feigned innocence. Nian felt a surge of affection for the multifaceted youth. She asked if the Orc Empire would accept the treaty. I replied lazily that it depended on the Beast Monarch. Nian questioned my aggressive stance toward Andrew and my concerns about a counterattack, noting the brilliance of Marquis Wu Zhuge. She sighed, suspecting a withdrawal from the northern frontier was imminent. "You're sharp, Nian," I laughed. I noted that the Beast Monarch's next move would be interesting. If the Monarch showed restraint, I would respect him. Restraint would mean my future plans might be unnecessary. Nian asked what would happen if the Monarch attacked instead, realizing she could no longer fully grasp my grand strategy. She marveled at how the boy she once knew had grown into a brilliant strategist and martial genius. My aura of mystery had become something she relied on and admired. If he counterattacks, I should actually thank him. I chuckled, my voice laced with cold intent. A counterattack on the northern frontier? If the Beast Monarch dared, I was confident I could topple him and install Andrew in his place. Oh, tell Aunt Nien what you're thinking, Nianqingyi asked, her eyes bright with curiosity. I smirked. Give me a reward first, and I'll tell you. No way. You're already spoiled by Wanner and Inner. Don't try to drag me into it. You little rascal. Nianqingyi blushed and turned away, though she couldn't suppress her racing heart. The sensation was intoxicating, a mix of panic and sweetness that felt dangerously addictive. A Jinui interrupted, reporting news from Andrew and the northern frontier. I donned my white cloak and stepped out to receive the scroll. Reading it, a smile spread across my face. Everything was going according to plan. The next morning, Andrew announced to the Imperial capital that he would sign a humiliating treaty on behalf of the Orc Empire. Through Andrew's strenuous negotiations, I reluctantly agreed to minor concessions. The demand for noble women was dropped, but the annual supply of resources, monster crystal cores, and energy minerals remained mandatory. I never expected the treaty to hold, but it was a massive morale booster for the citizens. For the first time in millennia, the Changtian Empire had forced the Orc Empire into a humiliating surrender. This was a historic breakthrough, and the glory belonged to me, the young master of the Su Prince's estate. 3 days after Andrew departed, the Northern Frontier messenger arrived with the final report. The Northern Frontier has retreated. The Northern Frontier has retreated. God of War Su breached the Orc capital, though the Beast Monarch forced him back with the Guardian Array. Regardless, we seized vast wealth and captives before withdrawing. We captured 100,000 prisoners, killed 910,000 enemies, and seized over 100 million gold coins worth of supplies. A total victory. The war is over. Soldiers galloped through the capital, shouting the news of the great triumph. The war had lasted only half a month. The Orc Empire had been completely blindsided. Only I knew this was the blitzkrieg strategy one had devised with Zhuge Liang. While the Orcs had superior numbers, their mobility was inferior to the Black Jade cavalry. By disrupting their deployment and striking deep into their rear, they could threaten the capital itself. Zhuge Liang and I had initially doubted a single strike could crush the deep-rooted Orc Empire. But the current outcome was ideal. Hit and run, leaving the Beast Monarch helpless. Kill, burn, and loot. Let the Orcs taste the violence they had long inflicted upon humanity. We won. We finally won. People in the capital wept with joy. Long live God of War Su. No. Long live the young master. Long live me. The crowd realized this was all my doing. My strength and strategic foresight had stabilized the capital and bought time for the front lines. Everyone now understood that the mysterious Mr. Zhuge was my strategist, and the entire campaign had been meticulously orchestrated from the start. From the treaty negotiations to the coordination with the northern frontier, every step was a calculated move. It wasn't a coincidence, it was my design. If Su Long was a bloodthirsty general, I was a master strategist, a true monarch in the making. I seized the moment to solidify my influence. That afternoon, I stepped out of the Su Prince's estate to read the battle report at the military altar. It was a moment of glory for the entire human race. The capital was packed. A sea of people gathered at the altar. All eyes were fixed on the graceful figure in white, sword at my waist. For 1,000 years, the Changtian Empire has suffered under the Orcs. Our heroes have bled and died, their swords soaked in the blood of our kin. My voice rang out, clear and resonant, silencing the crowd. Armor on our shoulders, blades sharp, horses ready. My eyes burned with fury as I spoke of the soldiers who died in the north, leaving behind unsent letters home. My words carried a weight that stirred the deep-seated hatred and grief within every listener. Soldiers, we swear to defend the North. The image of warriors charging into battle filled the air. The crowd wept as they envisioned the human wall built of flesh and blood. These were the guardians of humanity's last sanctuary. Su Long broke the city. Zhuge's brilliance shattered the enemy. We did this to show the myriad races that human dignity is inviolable. My passion was infectious. The crowd gripped their fists, eyes brimming with tears. Even Gao Shun and the traversing camp soldiers felt their blood boil, eager to return to the fray. Raise your spears. Let our blood paint the flag. The Su family will carry this burden, and humanity will rise to shake the heavens. If this world oppresses us, then we kill. We kill until the heavens change color and the earth runs red, carving out a new era for humanity. My Gangchi erupted, surging toward the clouds. Roar! Kill! Gao Shun bellowed, raising his steel spear. The traversing camp joined in, their roar echoing the hardships of the Northern War. While past Su generations brought stability, I brought something else. I brought hope, the stubborn, unyielding hope of a race that refused to kneel. Suyu! Someone screamed, veins bulging in their neck. The chant exploded across the square. Suyu! 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 From merchants to farmers, scholars to soldiers, the entire capital was united. They chanted my name, ready to don armor and take up arms at my command. If I marched, they would follow. Fight to the end. The crowd roared, their fervor masking a deep-seated bloodlust and resolve. My words had ignited the dormant pride and dignity of the human race within them. They were ready to follow me and fight for the Su Prince's estate. I stood with arms spread, a warm, enigmatic smile on my lips. The crowd went wild, chanting Suyu, with such intensity that the entire Imperial capital trembled. Military advisor Nian watched from the sidelines with the women of the estate, gazing at the man in white on the platform. He has developed ambition, she murmured, her voice laced with complex emotions. She sensed the subtle influence of Qin Dao in my speech, a technique used to manipulate the masses' emotions. System, congratulations, host. Gained 100,000 public support energy from the capital's citizens. My smile deepened. I was pleasantly surprised to receive such a reward before even securing a territory. Was it ambition? Perhaps. But if my ambition could lead to the rise of the human race, it was a worthy pursuit. I believed I could be a better ruler than any before me. As I left, the fervor at the altar began to wane. My image was now etched into the hearts of the people. My reputation would soon spread across the entire Qingtian Empire. This was my grand design, to amass the supreme public support necessary to claim the throne. Night fell, yet the capital remained bustling. Just as the city celebrated the victory in the northern frontier, I received an urgent report from the Jinui. The first prince had issued a desperate call. I, the crown prince, have been framed by the traitor Suyu. He harbors grand, treasonous designs. Loyal subjects, rise up to restore the rightful order. I sneered. The first prince's cunning was expected. His message was a masterclass in manipulation, designed to sway the masses. By invoking the legitimacy of the crown, the first prince hoped to incite a rebellion among those seeking favor. As I processed this, my gatekeeper rushed in. The servant was trembling, clearly panicked by the unfolding crisis. Stay calm, I said softly. Panic solves nothing. There is a solution to every problem. I looked at the gatekeeper with a steady gaze. My calm was infectious. The servant marveled at the transformation. This was the same composure he had only ever seen in God of War Su Long. Yes, young master. The servant stammered, still overwhelmed by the gravity of the situation. Before I could respond, a loud, chaotic clamor erupted outside. Suyu, come out. Don't think your father's achievements give you the right to imprison the first prince. He is the rightful heir. What is your treacherous intent? I recognized the voices, influential ministers and nobles, led by the Duke and Right Chancellor, Tenzoming. I stood up and headed toward the entrance. Outside, the street was ablaze with torches, revealing a massive, hostile crowd. Military advisor Nian stepped in my way, her eyes filled with worry. She knew how much I had sacrificed for the empire. It was infuriating that these ministers, who had only regained their dignity because of me, were now turning against me. Don't go out, she pleaded. They are ungrateful wolves. Stay inside, and they cannot touch you. Her gentle, heartfelt concern was touching. I patted her head with a smile. Do not worry. They are merely buzzing flies. I will deal with them quickly. Nian did not pull away. Instead, she felt a profound sense of peace and happiness. The boy she once knew had become a man of unshakable resolve and stature. The brilliant military advisor, usually a fierce force of nature, nodded obediently, acting like a gentle maiden. If the beast race saw her like this, they would be utterly shocked. This tenderness was reserved solely for me. No matter the storm, she would remain by my side. I stepped forward and threw open the gates. The crowd fell silent, all eyes fixed on me. The crowd fell silent. Every gaze locked on me as I prepared to speak. My lips curled into a smirk as I surveyed the scene. The street was packed with soldiers, some wielding torches, others with blades drawn, and archers poised in the back. Over 100 soldiers surrounded the Suyu estate. Their steady breathing and murderous eyes marked them as battle-hardened veterans who had claimed countless lives. "Are you here to force my hand?" I called out. "Surrounding my estate at night. Are you planning a massacre, Prime Minister Tan Zongming?" I immediately identified the mastermind, Tan Zongming, the right Prime Minister, second only to the Emperor. Tan Zongming stepped forward with a faint smile. Fearless of the Suyu family's influence, he viewed me as a mere pawn beneath his notice. He dismissed my recent achievements as the work of a secret mentor, convinced that a waste could never truly transform into a dragon. Tan believed that without Suyu long present, I was just a naive child. He intended to strike quickly, catching me off guard before my mentor could intervene. "Let's be direct," Tan declared. "Are you attempting to usurp the first prince and seize the throne?" This was a grave accusation of treason, equivalent to questioning one's own father's legitimacy, a charge that defied natural law. The street fell into a suffocating, deathly silence. All eyes turned to me. While I had one public favor, the question of imperial legitimacy was a line that could not be easily crossed. I, however, remained calm, offering a faint, out-of-place smile. Tan frowned, expecting me to be trembling in fear. Instead, my relaxed demeanor felt like a mockery. Tan struggled to accept that the waste I possessed such composure and depth, far beyond his own decades of political maneuvering. "Ha ha, forgive me," I laughed. "I've seen fools, but never one so serious about his own stupidity." My laughter was bright, confident, and utterly unburdened. Tan's face darkened with rage. "How dare this boy show such blatant disrespect? Do you think this is a joke?" Tan snapped. "Answer me. Are you plotting to replace the first prince and steal this empire?" Tan's voice turned sharp as a blade, aimed directly at me. I sneered. "By what authority do you question me? My family has bled for this empire, and I stood against the Orcs. What have you done, Tan Zongming? You are merely a civil official who has never seen the front lines, never faced death, and never heard the drums of war." A cold smirk played on my lips. Tan was livid. He had expected to intimidate me, but now he felt like the one being interrogated. He had thought this would be an easy victory. "Yes, you are the Prime Minister," I continued, my voice cold. "You hold immense power and act as if the world revolves around you." I paused, my gaze steady. Tan stood tall, prideful, accepting this as an undeniable fact of his status. "But so what?" I countered. "You forget that your power comes from the people. A true official should serve the people, not stand above them." My voice rang out with such power it seemed to shake the very air. The street went deathly still. The onlookers stared in awe. My words felt like a warm spring nourishing their weary hearts. The best soldiers are those who simply obey orders. Tan's men were elite, trained to suppress personal emotion during duty. Yet, as they listened, these hardened killers began to tremble, their eyes wide with shock. My words had struck a chord. They had never considered that the purpose of an official was to serve the common man. If I were their sovereign, what would their empire become? A world where officials serve the people. What a life of happiness that would be. As humans with families and parents, these soldiers realized they would gladly follow a leader who promised a better future for their loved ones. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have gained the support of 100 citizens in the Imperial capital. System reward. 100,000 public support energy. The system's voice echoed in my mind, catching me off guard. I realized my modern, egalitarian ideals had triggered a massive reaction, a pleasant surprise. I knew class divisions wouldn't vanish overnight, and the power of the clans remained formidable. But the people only needed hope and a leader who cared. With that, they would support me through anything. Meanwhile, Tan Zongming was shaking with fury. How dare this waste humiliate him in public? "Insolent brat," Tan roared, his finger trembling as he pointed at me. "I will have you thrown into the celestial prison for this." Tan was so enraged his teeth chattered, his composure completely shattered by my defiance. Tan Zongming's arrogance provoked me, and I slapped him so hard he spun in place and nearly collapsed. Humiliated in front of everyone, Tan trembled with rage, pointing a finger at me and shrieking, "Ew, you dare hit me?" I shook my head as if dealing with a brat. "I only brushed your finger away, but if you're asking for a slap, I can oblige." Slap? I struck Tan across the face, leaving a clear, crimson handprint on his pampered skin. "You." Tan clutched his face in disbelief, stunned that I would actually retaliate. As Prime Minister, Tan was untouchable by anyone but the Emperor. He assumed I would be too terrified to fight back. With 100 battle-hardened soldiers surrounding them, the tension was suffocating. Yet, I remained unfazed. You really dare hit me?" Tan roared, his fury reaching a boiling point. Slap? I struck Tan's other cheek with another sharp blow. "Do you believe me now?" I asked with a calm smile. Tan's face was now swollen and unrecognizable, a bruised, puffy mess. The stinging pain brought tears to Tan's eyes. He was mortified. The surrounding officials stood frozen, their hearts pounding in pure shock. They had expected to watch me grovel, thinking this show of force was overkill. The reality was far different. Seeing my composure, the officials felt relieved they hadn't intervened, while casting pitying glances at Tan. "I hit you because I wanted to," I said, my tone as casual as breathing. Tan tried to retort, but fear paralyzed him. He retreated, stumbling backward. Tan fell hard, injuring his back and howling in agony. He would likely never recover his former vigor. Consumed by vengeful rage, Tan scrambled to command his men. "Seize him. If he resists, kill him." The 100 soldiers moved instantly, locking their gazes onto me. The atmosphere turned lethal. Though the soldiers secretly admired me, they were Tan's private troops, bound by absolute, unquestioning obedience. The Empire's strength relied on this iron discipline, a tradition the Su family had long championed. I nodded in approval. "Excellent. The Empire needs soldiers who follow orders without question, even when plans change on the battlefield." Tan stared at me, convinced he was dealing with a lunatic. Who else could remain so calm while facing a death sentence? Jealousy and anger flared in Tan. Why was I so composed? "You think this is a joke?" Tan hissed. "Killing a traitor like you is a service to the nation. I will be remembered as a hero." Tan desperately wanted to see me break. I sneered at the officials. "I know my own actions. I've done nothing against the Empire. Can any of you say the same with a clear conscience?" My gaze sharpened, piercing the hearts of the gathered officials. These seasoned, cunning men, who had survived countless political storms, found themselves unable to meet my eyes. My sheer presence alone suppressed them all. Tan, furious at his allies' cowardice, shoved them. "Why are you bowing your heads? He's just one man. Stand tall." His commands fell on deaf ears. The officials remained hunched in shame. Tan was livid. His own supporters had been silenced by a single sentence from me. "Suyu, you must die." Tan spat. "Power is the only truth in this world, and you are nothing but a boy. You are finished." "Is that so?" I mocked, viewing Tan as a pathetic clown. I didn't even need my traversing camp soldiers to handle this. "I won't let you die easily," Tan snarled. "I'll break your limbs, throw you in the celestial prison, and torture you until you beg for death." "Is that so?" I replied coolly. "Seize him. Kill him if he resists." The soldiers surged forward, their killing intent rising like tigers descending a mountain. But as the soldiers moved, Tan froze in horror. The reality unfolding before him was the exact opposite of what he had expected. Tan Zongming's private soldiers suddenly turned their weapons against him, their gazes sharp and lethal. The soldiers roared, "Kill! Kill! Kill!" as they locked their sights on Tan. Confusion reigned. How could these supposedly robotic, loyal soldiers turn traitor? It seemed impossible. Tan Zongming refused to accept reality, screaming at me, "What did you do?" "They wouldn't turn. I won't fail." Tan's frantic, desperate outburst was futile. The tide had already turned. The other officials were equally stunned. They had arrived confident of victory, never anticipating such a sudden, lopsided collapse. They stared at me as if I were a monster, while I remained as composed as ever. It dawned on them. I had always been this way, calculating and in control, just as I was against the beast race prince. From afar, I had directed the northern frontier, guiding Zhuge Liang and Su Long to victory and forcing the beast race to sign a favorable treaty. I was no longer the wastrel of the past. I was a formidable man worthy of awe. They realized their mistake. They never should have challenged me. My past reputation as a failure had blinded them to my recent brilliance. No, impossible. You rebels. See Suyu. Ten screamed. Ten was clearly losing his grip on reality, refusing to acknowledge his defeat. I merely smiled, my eyes filled with mockery. A general stepped forward, knelt, and presented a token to me, saying, Imperial Guard Commander Zhou Yi, reporting to young Prince Su. I accepted the token, pulled Zhou Yi up, and told Tan. Our soldiers are the finest in the world. They obey orders. But remember, I am of the Su family, and my father is Su Long. Tan's face turned paper white, his spirit shattered as he stumbled backward. The Su family. Su Long. I was wrong. I've lost. No one can defeat the Su family. Tan lamented. He collapsed, laughing and crying like a madman. The other officials watched, their faces pale with dread and newfound respect for me. They realized that the entire Imperial army was essentially trained by the Su family. Every high-ranking general owed their success and their life to Su Long. Su Long's prestige was unmatched. The Empire's strength was built on the blood of the Su lineage. The officials realized their actions were utterly foolish, like throwing themselves into the jaws of a beast. My rise offered new hope to the military, and many had already begun aligning with me. The first prince and his faction had foolishly hoped to use me to control Su Long, but reality had struck them down. Still, they hoped that the law cannot punish the masses. They were essential officials. Surely I wouldn't dare purge them all. With the prime minister leading them, they assumed I would only offer a verbal reprimand, seize Tan Zongming, and throw him into the heaven-grade celestial prison. No visitors, no release without my order. My cold voice cut through the air. Though spoken quietly, my words hit the officials like a thunderclap. I was actually going through with such a harsh punishment. The heaven-grade cell was a place of brutal torture and despair, where many prisoners died before trial. They were shocked that I dared to imprison a prime minister in such a hellhole. I turned my gaze to the remaining officials, making them tremble. Surely I wouldn't dare touch them all. They clung to the belief that there was safety in numbers. Seize them all. Throw them into the mystic grade cells. Let the court of judicature interrogate them. If guilty, punish them. If innocent, lock them up for 6 months of reflection. The officials stood frozen, their souls seemingly drained away. How could I arrest the core of the Imperial administration? Would the court not collapse? I was truly audacious. After a moment of silence, the officials erupted in fury. Suyu, have you gone mad? Do you know who we are? You have no right. Don't think being Su Long's son gives you the right to act like a tyrant. Tim was right. You are a wolf with designs on the throne. You ungrateful beast. You're finished, Suyu. I will unite the officials to impeach you and rot you in prison forever. The officials grew increasingly agitated, pointing fingers at me and shouting with such vitriol it seemed they wished to pierce my skull or drown me in their spittle. They had completely forgotten who allowed them to stand tall before the Orc Prince and who secured the human race's absolute dominance in the Northern Frontier War. Consumed by their own petty interests, they ignored everything else. I waved my hand dismissively and commanded, "What are you waiting for? Seize them." Soldiers swarmed forward, pinning the officials' arms behind their backs. These men, usually capable of manipulating any situation with their silver tongues, were stunned by my sheer tyranny. My decisive, lightning-fast actions left them no room to maneuver or resist. As the saying goes, brute force overcomes all finesse. I sneered at the captives. I know you're dissatisfied, but so what? You tried to use your influence to pressure me. Did you really think I wouldn't do the same to you? Unfortunately, I have no intention of explaining myself. Since you dared to stage a coup against me, don't blame me for being ruthless. Throw them all into the celestial prison. The officials were dumbfounded that I would so openly admit my intentions, then erupted into renewed, furious cursing. Suyu, are you rebelling? We are the pillars of the Empire. It cannot function without us. Do you want to see the Empire collapse? Suyu, are you still human? This act shakes the very foundation of our nation. Release us, or you are a traitor to the human race. You must be a spy for the beast race. You are destroying the Empire's balance and stability. These cunning officials used every trap, threat, and bribe imaginable. A weaker man would have faltered, but I remained unmoved. Ignoring their frantic cries as if they didn't exist, I turned and walked toward the courtyard. I left them only my resolute back. The officials were infuriated and terrified. Their carefully crafted rhetoric had fallen on deaf ears. Infuriating. One official fainted from rage, foaming at the mouth. I was far more tyrannical and overbearing than even God of War Long. Soldiers quickly detained the officials, restoring silence to the streets. However, after such a commotion, sleep was impossible for the city tonight. Back in the courtyard, military advisor Nian greeted me with a warm towel, her eyes filled with undisguised admiration. Though slightly older than me, Nian possessed a mature, delicate charm, like an orchid in a secluded valley, that was impossible to resist. Military advisor Nian's dazed expression radiated a unique, irresistible charm. Captivated by her beauty, I didn't take the towel, instead leaning forward with a grin and saying, "You wipe it for me." Nian was stunned, then feigned annoyance, chiding, "You're not a child. Can't you even wipe your own face?" Despite her mock anger, her eyes shimmered with deep, pearl-like affection that stirred the heart. "That's an order," I insisted, leaning closer until our faces were inches apart, our breaths mingling. The proximity caused Nian's delicate cheeks to flush a stunning, peach blossom pink. "Fine, I'll do it. But stop leaning in," she murmured, her usual heroic composure replaced by the shy, innocent grace of a young girl. She began to gently wipe my face with the towel. Even through the fabric, I felt the captivating softness of her slender, lily-white fingers. Stirred by the moment, I watched her intently as she pulled her hand away. Military advisor Nian bit her lip, blushing as she softly scolded, "Is there a flower on my face? Why are you staring?" I smiled. "Yes, a beautiful flower I want to kiss." Suyu, what are you saying?" Nian was startled by my bluntness. Suddenly, I did something that left Nian completely stunned. A quiet moment passed. With lightning speed, I leaned in and pecked Nian on the lips. After the fleeting kiss, I licked my lips, savoring the moment, and remarked, "So sweet." Nian bit her lip hard, staring at me in a daze. She never imagined I would be this daring. Her heart was a mix of shame and panic. The formidable heroine feared by the beast race was now flustered, her heart racing and her mind a chaotic mess as she gripped her hands together. Despite military advisor Nian's reputation as a heroine, she was still a woman, having long harbored feelings for me. She found this intimate contact with a man to be an incredibly strange and wonderful sensation. Rarely seeing this side of her, I playfully pinched her cheek, laughed, and strode toward my room. Nian stood dazed for a long time. Once she regained her senses, she gritted her teeth, fuming. "That brat. How dare he be so bold? I'll have to teach him a lesson so he doesn't think he's invincible." As she walked to her room, her anger vanished, replaced by a faint smile. Touching the lips I had brushed, she whispered, It actually wasn't bad." By dawn, the Imperial capital was buzzing. Last night's events had spread like wildfire, becoming common knowledge within an hour. From commoners to officials, everyone knew every detail, down to my expressions and tone of voice. Soon, a unified sentiment emerged among the people. Suyu is the Empire's hope. He single-handedly forced the arrogant beast race prince to flee, securing a glorious victory for the human race. Now, by purging corrupt officials, he is a savior to the common people. My name has become the sole topic of praise among the common folk. I left the Su estate to take my 3 women shopping, hoping for a casual, low-profile outing. As soon as I stepped out, a passerby recognized me and shouted, "Look, it's young Prince Su." The crowd swarmed me, bowing and cheering. "Young Prince Su, you are our savior. With a hero like you, the human race will never fall." I thanked them and asked them to disperse. Though reluctant, they obeyed my command. As they continued, military advisor Nian felt an inexplicable sense of unease but remained silent. On a bustling street in the Imperial capital, an old man suddenly cried out, "It's young Prince Su. I remember your unique aura from when I saw you at the estate. I pay my respects." The man knelt before I could stop him. I smiled, trying to help him up. Please rise. Today, I am just a commoner. The man refused, weeping, You've done so much for us. My son is a soldier. He wrote that they finally stand tall against the beast race thanks to you. And punishing those corrupt officials like Vice Administrator Liu. You are a god to us. The crowd, long oppressed by corrupt officials, felt a surge of hope and joy at my actions. Soon, the entire street knelt, chanting, Long live young Prince Su. The roar of hundreds echoed throughout Jiangdu. The scene was overwhelming. Military advisor Nian's brow furrowed deeper. The atmosphere felt wrong. She wondered if the adoration was staged and why a simple farmer spoke with such calculated, inflammatory eloquence. Inside the Imperial Palace, in a squalid, shed-like room reserved for disgraced concubines, the air was filled with the ghostly wails of those imprisoned there. The first prince had been suffering in this hellish environment for days. Yet, he sat with a smug, confident smile, acting as if he still held the reins of power. Suyu thinks he's untouchable? He's a clown. I'll destroy him soon. He won't even live to see me reclaim the empire. He stared at the door, his gaze seemingly piercing through the guards to fixate on his distant target. I, meanwhile, led my companions into a quiet alley to escape the fervor. Nian finally spoke up. Don't you find it strange? The old man, the chanting, it feels like a trap. I smiled calmly. Let it come. There is no need to worry about what hasn't happened yet. Nian remained silent, but stayed vigilant. Suddenly, the same old man from the street appeared before us. He feigned surprise and knelt again. As I leaned in to help him, the man's expression twisted into a vicious, lupin sneer. He drew a pitch-black dagger, a divine weapon, from his sleeve. He was no farmer, but a professional assassin sent by the first prince to end me and ruin the Su prince's estate. The assassin struck with perfect timing and lethal force. As a peak Ranshan realm expert, the assassin felt disdain for this easy job. He believed his cultivation was more than enough to crush the young prince. His dagger, Songfeng, was sharp enough to sever anything. With Su Jiao and Gao Shun absent, he was certain of a sure kill. Goodbye, ignorant fool, he thought with a crazed grin. But as he looked at me, he froze. My face remained as calm as a mirror, my eyes steady as stone. How? The assassin panicked. My strike is flawless. He couldn't fathom how his perfect plan could fail. Less than a breath had passed. I had already reacted with prepared precision. A crisp metallic clink echoed as something hit the ground. The alley fell silent. The assassin knelt, paralyzed, his eyes vacant and hollow. The assassin's dagger, Songfeng, lay shattered on the ground. The weapon, known for cutting through iron like silk, had been destroyed. The veteran assassin was stunned, his mind struggling to process the impossible reality. He couldn't fathom how his legendary divine weapon had been snapped so easily. He turned his gaze toward me, as I held a simple-looking longsword. The sword lacked ostentatious design, yet it radiated an oppressive aura that forced an instinctive, primal urge to submit. What is that sword? The assassin stammered. I shook my head coldly. A dying man has no right to know its name. It was the true Emperor's sword, a chaotic artifact from the Grand Lord system. Against any other weapon, the assassin's blade would have prevailed. The assassin had timed his strike perfectly, catching me without my guards, yet he still failed. The fault lay in the sheer power of the Grand Lord system and the indestructible, peerless true Emperor's sword. Don't think you're invincible just because you have a divine weapon, the assassin roared, preparing to strike again. He channeled his full strength, his leg muscles bulging with explosive power. As a peak Ranshan realm expert, he felt humiliated to be using his full power against me, yet he couldn't shake a deep, subconscious fear. He felt compelled to go all out, despite his confusion. He promised himself a vacation after this job. He felt ridiculous for being so tense over a weakling like me. He couldn't let word of this get out. Suddenly, I moved, vanishing from my spot like a ghost. A brilliant flash of light illuminated the space. An aura of absolute dominance, like a true emperor reborn, descended and enveloped the area. The assassin, mid-leap, froze, his body trembling uncontrollably. He felt like a tiger facing a predator from a higher, ancient hierarchy. It was a total suppression of his life essence, far beyond his own level. Paralyzed by sheer terror, he could not move a muscle. A flash of sword light swept through, and the oppressive aura vanished. I sheathed the true Emperor's sword and turned to leave without a glance. The assassin stood frozen, his eyes vacant, his soul seemingly extinguished. I led the three women away, leaving them confused as to why the assassin hadn't struck back. Suddenly, the assassin's voice rang out, filled with disbelief. "What is that sword? How do you have Ronshan-level cultivation? You were a waste. What technique is this?" I didn't look back, merely shaking my head as I continued walking. If I, empowered by the system and the true Emperor's scroll, were a waste, then everyone else was nothing. I was no longer the weakling of the past. I was a top-tier martial Dao genius, invincible within my realm. I even possessed the power to kill above my rank. As they turned the corner, a thud sounded behind them, but I stopped them from looking. "Nothing to see. Let's go home." I knew the assassin was already decapitated. The strike had been so fast that the assassin's nerves had only just caught up. My sword was fast and absolute. Like a dragon in the abyss, it only struck to shake the heavens. News of the assassin's death reached the first prince in the palace. The first prince sat in stunned silence for a long time. "Damn you, Suyu. You forced my hand. I didn't want to plunge the empire into chaos yet, but now you will pay." The prince's voice dripped with venomous hatred. "Ding. Congratulations, host. Gained 100,000 public support energy. 10,000 Black Jade Cavalry added to your legion. Name, Black Jade Cavalry. Race, human. Loyalty, 100. Rank, famous general level. Strength, Viceway Realm, Tier 1. Skills, Fanatical Charge, Savage Impact." I was shocked by the sudden arrival of these elite troops and the massive boost in public support energy. I realized these were the legendary, loyal cavalry of my father, God of War Su Long. A Jinui report arrived. After a battle in the northern frontier where Zhuge Liang suffered losses, Su Long had gifted these 10,000 elite troops to his son. Su Long had even issued a strict order. Anyone who disobeyed Suyu or Zhuge Liang would be executed by his own hand. I smiled bitterly. My cheap father was surprisingly supportive. The Black Jade Cavalry were the Empire's finest, each a veteran of years of training and multiple major campaigns. With this force, any power could conquer the Four Directions continent and establish a mighty kingdom. With 10,000 Black Jade Cavalry and Zhuge Liang's brilliance, my territory is poised for a massive leap, likely doubling in size soon. My public support energy has surged to 431,118 points, thanks to a 100,000-point windfall from last night's incident added to my existing reserves. Given this momentum, I should be ecstatic about my rapid progress toward becoming a major lord. Yet, I frown, halting my plans to cultivate more abyssal demon hounds. A heavy, ominous sense of dread hangs over me like a dark cloud. I fear a massive crisis is approaching, one that will require every bit of my public support energy to survive. Even with 400,000 points, my anxiety persists. I wonder if the first prince or some hidden conspiracy is to blame, but before I can dwell on it, the situation turns dire. A bombshell rocks the capital. The old emperor is critically ill and on the verge of death. As officials rush to the Imperial palace, I follow suit. Military advisor Nian stops me at the gate, her face etched with worry. She notes the suspicious timing, Tan Zongming's framing attempt, the public's sudden adoration today, and now the emperor's collapse. She warns that these events are threads leading to a single, dangerous outcome, and I am the target. Her voice is soft, filled with genuine concern for my safety. I smile cryptically, telling her to mobilize all available forces, including the 800 traversing camp warriors and capable servants, to stand by for my command. Nian is stunned, wondering if I truly intend to rebel as rumored. She worries that even if I seize the throne, I lack the necessary nationwide support to hold it. My influence is currently limited to the capital, far from enough to command the entire Qingtian Empire. Sensing her doubts, I shake my head. I admit to my ambition, but vow to achieve it through upright, unimpeachable means. My tone is firm and resolute. I believe a man can achieve greatness without deceit or backstabbing. Ambition can be realized honorably. With that, I stride forward. Nian watches me, struck by how quickly I have matured. Gone is the former wastrel. In my place stands a man ready to carve out an extraordinary path. I arrive at the palace, where the court officials wait in tense silence. The atmosphere is suffocating, thick with unspoken dread. As I enter, every eye turns toward me. Whispers ripple through the room. Suyu is here, the young prince. The officials' reactions range from surprise to resentment. I am the center of attention, as always. However, the gazes directed at me are hostile or mocking, with only a few showing friendliness. Even the neutral ones look at me with deep suspicion. Ignoring the tension, I demand, "Who can report the emperor's condition?" Usually, officials would scramble to answer me, but now, the hall is deathly silent, the tension at a breaking point. I frown, my voice booming with the authority of a forest king. I asked a question. Why is there no answer? The officials flinch, cowed by my sudden display of power. Even those plotting against me are momentarily stunned into silence. Guoda, the minister of rights and a loyalist to the first prince, has been tasked with orchestrating my downfall today. Despite his high rank and experience, he finds his legs heavy with hesitation. "How dare you shout here, Suyu?" Guoda finally steps forward, accusing me of insulting the empire and the human race. He gambles everything on this moment, hoping to secure a position of immense power under the first prince. He convinces himself that even if he fails, he is merely acting for the good of the nation. I watch him with a faint smile, realizing the first prince's trap has finally sprung. I remain silent, waiting to see what else they have in store. Emboldened by my silence, Guoda adopts a righteous, saintly persona. He accuses me of colluding with the beast race to stage a grand performance, undermining the god of war Sulong's victory. He labels me a traitor for securing a lenient treaty with the Orcs. He further charges me with usurping imperial power by imprisoning core officials. Finally, he accuses me of inciting the public to hail me as "long live," branding it an act of treason. Guoda's eyes burn with malice, aiming to pin me down. The hall is gripped by tension as all eyes fix on me. Guoda's accusations are logical and damning, leaving everyone to doubt my true motives. Could I, who once risked my life to defy the beast race for the sake of the human race, truly be a power-hungry villain? Such ambition is intolerable. Officials were stunned that these accusations were aired so publicly. A single misstep would make me an enemy of the empire, destroying my reputation even with my father, the god of war Su, as my shield. After all, the human race deeply values tradition and moral order. Everyone turned their attention to me, waiting to see how I would defend myself. I showed no anger. With a faint, dismissive smirk, I looked at Guoda and asked, "Anything else?" Guoda was stunned. He expected me to be frantic or enraged, not calm enough to be discussing the weather. Unable to fathom my composure, the crowd watched as I scanned the 100 officials. I asked, "Do you have any other accusations?" Or perhaps, my gaze held a strange power. Those I looked at instinctively lowered their heads, unable to meet my eyes. Who else is dissatisfied? If you think I've done something heinous, speak up. If the storm is coming, let it rage. Only through the fiercest gales can we test the strength of the ship. I smiled, my aura suddenly erupting. Like a lightning strike, my presence shook the palace, radiating an overwhelming, majestic power. The officials were shocked. They had never seen such arrogance, especially given who I was confronting. These were the empire's high-ranking officials, the core of the state, representing the empire itself. To oppose them was to oppose the empire. Even the emperor would hesitate to cross such a powerful coalition. In this class-conscious society, the power of these factions was immense. Yet, I stood alone against them all, inviting their full wrath. My defiance was seen as an attack on the entire imperial court. Even neutral officials were incensed by my perceived insolence. The officials glared at me, their brows furrowed in collective hostility. I sneered. "Do you think your coalition makes you untouchable? Do you truly believe you are the foundation of this empire, and therefore above reproach?" No one spoke, but their expressions confirmed that they indeed believed exactly that. I shook my head in disappointment. Water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. The people are the water, officials are merely the boats. If you lose the people's hearts, you will perish. Before the people, we are nothing. That is the essence of being an official. My words left the ministers feeling small and deeply ashamed, their logic shattered by my profound, unfamiliar philosophy. Even Guada, who had orchestrated this to ruin me, was forced to lower his head, unable to refute such stinging truths. My aura shifted, my eyes burning with an intensity that seemed blinding. Even if you hold supreme power, even if you could erase all opposition, if I were just a commoner, so what? In the face of absolute right and wrong, justice and evil, I fear nothing. I stand by my convictions. For truth, kindness, and justice, I will persist even if the world stands against me. If no one upholds righteousness, what will this world become? The human race always needs a few fools like me. I sighed, a mix of bitterness and a solemn vow. Absolute silence descended, so profound that even the flutter of a mosquito's wings seemed deafening. Everyone stared in stunned silence, their minds reeling as if their souls had been snatched away. My words were thunderous, possessing a spirit and conviction that seemed capable of splitting the heavens. Was this the useless me? I possessed the courage to stand against the entire world, a presence that made those near me tremble. Buddha realized his plan had backfired. Instead of becoming a prisoner, I had seized control of the narrative, leaving Guada trapped and speechless. Buddha knew he had to act. I had transformed from a target into the master of the situation. Your words are pretty, but I know your true nature. You are a power-hungry, wicked scoundrel. Guada stepped forward, glaring at me with gritted teeth. He couldn't let me continue. My natural charisma and magical way with words were too dangerous. I watched him quietly, my deep eyes inviting Guada to continue. Despite feeling unnerved by my calm gaze, Guada pressed on. Right and wrong are relative. Justice is in the hearts of the people. Isn't that right, Minister of Works Chun Yin? Chun Yin hesitated, then stepped forward, signaling his support for Guada. With 2 of the 6 ministries now openly accusing me, it seemed the entire court had turned against me. Anyone else? I asked unmoved. I treated these 2 powerful officials as if they were mere passers-by on the street. Guada scoffed. Everyone stepped forward. At his command, several more heavyweights, capable of shaking the empire with a single stomp, stepped out. Let's see how arrogant you can be now, thinking you're the best in the world. Guada looked at me with cold, haughty disdain. These officials had clearly revealed themselves as the first prince's faction. I nodded at Guada, but stopped speaking to him. Instead, I waved my hand and uttered a chilling command that shattered the atmosphere and left everyone in absolute shock. Guards, throw these people into the celestial prison. My voice was soft and gentle, as if I were chatting with a friend. Yet, in that instant, everyone's heart skipped a beat, struck by a wave of disbelief so intense it left their minds blank. Guada stared, mouth agape, stammering in disbelief. What? You're arresting us? You're throwing us into the celestial prison. The Minister of Rights, usually the Empire's most eloquent official, was reduced to a stutterer. Yet, no one mocked him. The others were too stunned to even speak. Is my meaning unclear, or is your comprehension poor? I said calmly. I'll repeat. I am throwing all of you into the heaven-grade celestial prison. I glanced dismissively at the gathered officials, my expression indifferent. One official, frail of heart, collapsed upon hearing this, causing a brief commotion. You aren't just arresting me? You're taking all of us? Do you even know what you're doing? Guada couldn't process the reality. Was I insane? Did I truly intend to defy the entire empire and act without fear? I shook my head, looking at Guada as if he were a fool. I waved my hand. Why are you still standing there? Arrest these traitors and throw them into the prison. Armed with the Emperor Lord's golden medallion, the Imperial guards obeyed despite their shock, though they hesitated to drag the officials away, stunned by the gravity of the situation. Suyu, you have no right. Are you trying to rebel? Guada finally realized the truth. I was a madman. Guada shrieked in frustration. He had fallen into the hands of a lunatic who ignored all political maneuvering, crushing every scheme with a single golden medallion. I preferred using my fists over my brain whenever possible. Take them away, I commanded. The Imperial guards, still reeling, obeyed and began escorting the ministers out of the palace. Guada struggled, his appearance disheveled and wild, looking like a cornered beast. He had expected to easily handle me, viewing today as a mere formality before his own rise to power. In an instant, he had become a prisoner. The other officials were equally shocked. They had underestimated my unpredictability and power once again. Suddenly, a roar echoed through the hall. "Insolent! You are not the emperor, Suyu. You want to act as you please? You must answer to me first." A figure strode boldly into the palace. The man wore a python robe, the embroidered serpent appearing menacingly lifelike. It was the official attire of the crown prince, worn by no one else in the empire. It was the first prince. The crowd gasped, "Your Highness." I arched a brow, unsurprised. If the mastermind didn't appear for the finale, he wouldn't be the first prince. I had suspected the first prince was behind this since last night. The prince's strategy was meticulous, using officials to frame me for treason, then manipulating the public to provide further evidence of rebellion. Without my ruthless display of power, I would have been condemned to the abyss by now. Even the assassin disguised as a peasant was a vicious touch. One misstep would have meant total ruin for me. Yet, I had dismantled every step of the prince's elaborate trap. I wondered, however, why the first prince was here. What had happened to Suyu, who was tasked with guarding him? I narrowed my eyes. The situation was escalating, leaving no time for reflection. Sure enough, the sound of marching feet echoed from outside. Clatter! The rhythmic, disciplined footsteps signaled the arrival of a well-trained military force. The first prince had come prepared. "Suyu, your ambition is clear. You want to usurp the empire? I am still here. You will not rule." The first prince sneered as he approached me. His voice dripped with feigned righteousness, as if he were restoring order to the realm. The palace fell into a deathly silence. Emboldened by the prince's arrival, the arrested ministers began to resist, confused by the shift in power. Seeing the prince as the legitimate authority, they rallied behind him, hurling accusations at me. "Suyu, you are a traitor. The first prince is here to restore order. Surrender and face your death. You cannot hide your crimes behind your power, traitor. Justice will prevail. Evil cannot defeat righteousness. You have nowhere to run." I stood isolated. Even those who once admired me began to distance themselves, siding with the prince. I was alone. Even General Huang Zhongyi, a loyalist to the Su prince's estate, now looked at me with hostility. Faced with interest and righteousness, everyone abandoned the Su prince's estate. The first prince maintained his righteous facade while inwardly gloating. He had been humiliated by being locked away, and he was a crown prince. He intended to return every insult tenfold, eager to see me grovel and suffer for my defiance. Yet, I remained expressionless, calm as if I were still in complete control. "Oh, is this your entire plan? If so, I truly regret ever considering you a worthy opponent." My faint mockery ignited the first prince's fury, as if his very insides were being scorched by rage. My calm demeanor only deepened the prince's hatred. How could I remain so composed at such a critical moment? The prince felt he was the true mastermind, the one holding the fate of this despicable human in his hands. He desperately craved to see me broken, kneeling and begging for mercy. Instead, I remained as still as a lake. "Do you think this pathetic resistance will absolve your crimes?" the prince sneered. "You are the shame of the Su family," the prince spat, and the surrounding officials quickly echoed his condemnation. "Seize this traitor," the prince commanded with a vicious wave of his hand. "I will execute him before the entire capital." I let out a soft chuckle. The prince frowned, sensing something amiss. "What are you laughing at? How foolish can you be?" I replied coldly. "I hold the emperor's golden token. Do you really think the Imperial guards will obey you?" I ordered the guards to seize the first prince. After a moment of hesitation, they began to close in. The prince's eyes widened, but he soon regained his composure, looking at me with mocking disdain. "Military orders can be defied under certain circumstances." The prince smirked, looking at me as if I were already a corpse. My brow furrowed, sensing a shift in the atmosphere. "My father has passed away," the prince announced, his voice booming. "He was murdered by Suyu. Will you, the Imperial guards, still support this regicide?" The prince's voice echoed like thunder throughout the palace. Silence fell instantly. The officials were stunned. The emperor was truly dead? The news struck like a lightning bolt. shaking the very foundations of the empire. I grew cautious. I had anticipated the emperor's death, but not its suddenness. I realized the prince was ruthless enough to have orchestrated the murder himself. I was imprisoned by Suyu and his lackey, Suyu, the prince claimed. My father, on his deathbed, sent a Nirvana realm expert to rescue me, so I could expose Suyu's ambition. Tragically, my father succumbed to Suyu's poison before I could save him. The prince feigned deep grief, his eyes burning with hatred as he locked onto me. Only I noticed the fleeting, mocking smirk on the prince's lips. We must not let this regicide escape, the prince roared. The officials, now convinced of my guilt, glared at me with pure, murderous hatred. General Huang Zhongyi stepped forward, spitting at my feet. You are a disgrace to the Su family and the empire. You are unworthy of the name. How could the god of war Su produce such a wolf-hearted son? Enough talk. Seize this madman, the officials shouted. A quiet moment passed. Huang Zhongyi, once the Su family's most loyal supporter, had turned against me. If even he had turned, the others were beyond reason. Insults and hostility rained down upon me from all sides. The first prince felt a wave of pure, exhilarating triumph. Suyu, you have nowhere to run. You were never my match, and you are destined to be my defeated foe. Seize him, the prince commanded again. This time, the Imperial guards moved without hesitation, believing the prince's accusation of regicide. They trusted the crown prince's word over the accused. I suddenly burst into laughter. The crowd looked on with pity, convinced I had finally snapped under the pressure of my impending doom. Huang Zhongyi sneered. If you are to be executed, I will be the one to end your life myself. The prince gloated, but I abruptly stopped laughing. My aura shifted, becoming as steady and imposing as a mountain. Open your eyes and look. I held up a yellow scroll. It was the emperor's secret imperial decree, written in his own hand. I began to read. To my subjects, my health fails, and I can no longer govern. I have failed my ancestors and my people. I paused. The palace fell into a deathly silence. Even the prince stared in shock. The officials listened with heavy hearts, some weeping for their late emperor. The old emperor had been a wise and diligent ruler. Fate is cruel, but the nation must not fall. I entrust the future to the Su family. If the state is in peril, the Su estate has the authority to make final decisions. The true first prince died at age 3. This prince is an alien race imposter. I kept him to study their secrets. If exposed, the Su family must act. I stopped and stared directly at the first prince. The palace was deathly silent. The first prince stumbled backward, his face drained of all color, utterly shattered. The first prince's first reaction was disbelief. Such an imperial decree could not possibly exist. You're lying. This isn't the emperor's decree, it's a fabrication. Don't be fooled by me. I'm a man who would kill his own father to achieve his goals. Realizing his mistake, the first prince shifted to slandering me to deflect the truth. I shook my head and gestured to the Minister of Rights. Guada, as minister, you can verify the emperor's seal. Come and see for yourself, as can anyone else who doubts me. Guada rushed forward, took the scroll, and froze. Dragon patterns, the secondary seal, it's real. The first prince is dead. This impostor is truly an alien. Guada's voice trembled uncontrollably. Other ministers stepped forward, verified the handwriting, and were left in shock. A chilling, lightning-like sensation of dread swept through the crowd. Their crown prince was an alien. The first prince, stunned, realized his carefully laid plans had collapsed entirely. Every step he took to destroy me had backfired, leaving him exposed. I had not only survived, but had forced the first prince into an irredeemable situation. Who was I? How could I calculate every move and solve every problem? Was I even human? For the first time, the first prince felt true despair, outmatched in intellect. He knew he was no match for me alone. Yet, he had a trump card. Your schemes are peerless, Suyu, but this world respects strength. To the Dark Knight race, you are but an ant. Die here. The first prince sneered and waved his hand. Come out. Soldiers waiting outside stormed in, surrounding the palace. These were battle-hardened veterans, radiating intense killing intent. I have 1,000 elite warriors here and 500 archers outside, the first prince declared. The Imperial guards are gone. You are doomed. His voice was cold and menacing. He would claim the Chengtian Empire for the Dark Knight race, no matter what. The ministers panicked, facing a crisis beyond their wildest nightmares. The situation was completely outside their comprehension. Even Huang Zhongyi, a veteran, trembled. He had been away from the battlefield too long to face such certain death. Suyu is finished, the first prince taunted. But you can live. The Dark Knight race doesn't want to destroy you. We want to rule and elevate you. He looked at the officials with a cold, seductive smile. Obey me, forget today, and we shall prosper together. Resist, and you die. He waved his hand, and the 1,000 soldiers drew their blades. Clang, the sound of steel filled the air. The temperature in the hall plummeted, chilling everyone to the bone. The first prince now held the power of life and death over everyone present. Huang Zhongyi wanted to resist, his pride as a former general under Su Long burning within him. But as the killing intent pressed in, his body betrayed him, shaking with fear. Seeing the emotionless soldiers, Huang Zhongyi lowered his head, his will broken. Most ministers followed suit, rationalizing that survival under an alien ruler was better than death. It was a display of human cowardice, prioritizing life and wealth over dignity. The first prince grinned. He despised their spinelessness. Suddenly, a loud laugh erupted. It was bold, wild, and completely out of place. All eyes turned to me, the only one remaining calm. The first prince frowned, snarling. You find this funny? Is it not? I retorted. An alien dreaming of ruling humanity? Our spines are not so soft. We do not fear death. We will fight to the end. My voice rang out like a bell. The first prince hissed, You will die. Who doesn't die? I laughed. I would rather die than submit to an alien. The first prince was left speechless, trembling with rage that I had ruined his plans yet again. The ministers felt a surge of heat in their chests. Huang Zhongyi wept, staring at me. How could he have ever called such a hero a disgrace to the Su estate? He felt deep shame for his own cowardice after years of serving under General Su Long. Fine. Then die. The first prince roared. The soldiers tightened their grip, and the archers drew their bows, the air thick with lethal intent. I stepped forward, shielding the ministers, my aura exploding like a tidal wave. Traversing camp, where are you? My voice shook the heavens. Huang Zhongyi felt his blood ignite. He stepped forward, his aged body filled with long-lost passion. To him, I was now General Su Long. He had one purpose: follow the young master. Traversing Camp Vanguard Huang Zhongyi, present. Traversing Camp Vanguard Su Chan, present. Traversing Camp Vanguard here. Traversing Camp Vanguard Zhangfeng here. Traversing Camp Commander Gao Shun here. The voices rang out in succession, powerful and resonant, echoing across the sky with indomitable spirit. 800 soldiers marched in perfect formation from outside the palace, advancing rapidly toward the main hall. This small force possessed the momentum of 10,000. Gao Shun, eyes burning red, spear in hand, roared, Defend my lord. Traverse the world. Roar. The soldiers' thunderous battle cry shook the heavens, their combined aura surging like dragons and tigers. They vowed to pierce the sky, overturn the earth, and annihilate the alien races threatening humanity. War erupted. The traversing camp charged like tigers, fearless of the blade-filled path, hacking down the first prince's soldiers without hesitation. For the Su estate. For young Master Su. Kill these aliens. As long as one human breathes, we fight to the end. We follow young Master Su to the death. Kill for a peaceful world. If they don't submit, crush them. For the young master and humanity, we fight to the death. Consumed by shame and regret, the Imperial military officials drew their swords and joined the fray. The battlefield descended into chaos. The traversing camp fought with manic intensity, their screams and the sounds of clashing steel filling the air as blood stained the ground. The ministers felt a burning urge to act, unable to remain mere spectators. Even the timid civil officials grabbed whatever weapons or objects they could find to throw at the enemy. The first prince stood stunned, shocked by my meticulous planning. He wondered if I was even human, having anticipated every turn of events. His 1,500 veteran soldiers were being pushed back by the 800 traversing camp troops, unable to mount a defense. The first prince seethed with hatred. Realizing he was losing the psychological battle, the first prince knew he had to reveal his trump card. Suddenly, a figure flashed. I, clad in white and wielding a cold sword, stood before the first prince. Trying to run? It's too late, I said, my voice like a thunderclap. The first prince's pupils constricted. He was trapped. I didn't care about your power grabs or regicide, as long as the empire remained human. But my voice sharpened like a flying sword. The first prince felt a bone-chilling cold pierce his chest. You dared to hurt Suyu. No one touches my people. My icy tone froze the surrounding air. The first prince was baffled. He couldn't fathom me risking everything for a mere servant. A lowly servant is no different from an ant. The first prince sneered, relieved to hear Suyu was only injured. I was furious. You're dead. Anyone who touches my people dies. I drew the true emperor's sword and lunged. The first prince smirked in mockery. A mere Ranshan realm clown thinks he can kill me? A powerful aura erupted from the first prince, blocking my strike with a massive blade. My eyes widened. Suapa realm. You thought you could kill me, you Su family trash. The first prince hovered in the air, his eyes filled with murderous intent. He had hidden his true strength for years, but with his identity as an alien race exposed, there was no need to hide. You are a frog in a well. You cannot comprehend the greatness of the Dark Knight race. I'll show you the power of the Suapa realm. The first prince unleashed his Gangchi, his massive blade descending upon me. His technique was precise, swift, and treacherous. His blade energy surged like a tidal wave, overwhelming and relentless. I grunted. Forced onto the defensive, I channeled the true Emperor scroll, using intricate footwork to narrowly dodge the lethal strikes. The gap between their realms put me at a disadvantage. The first prince laughed, locking me down with his immense pressure. Deep Sea Blade, dragon plays in water. As the blade energy surged, I gritted my teeth and charged forward, sword in hand. The first prince sneered at my suicidal attempt. Suddenly, a violent aura exploded from me. The first prince's expression shifted in shock. A clear chime rang out. I retreated, my sword glowing. Zhenhuang's sword shadow. I swung my blade downward. Thousands of sharp sword shadows rained down like a storm of cold light. Each strike carried the force of my full power, forcing the first prince to change his expression. Even a Suapa realm expert was forced into a desperate defense. Sparks flew as the first prince frantically blocked the barrage. Suapa realm, I muttered coldly. So what? I possess the innate supreme Tao body and the supreme techniques of the myriad worlds. Overcoming levels to crush opponents is my specialty. Today, I'm taking down a soul-shattering realm expert. I declared. I rose into the air, hovering like an immortal descending to the mortal world. My white robes fluttered, and the true Emperor's sword spun wildly around me. Sword rain go, I commanded, unleashing a barrage of blades. The first prince was enveloped by the sword rain. The battle was so intense that the surrounding officials and soldiers dared not approach. My God, when did the young prince become this strong? This is Ranshan realm power. The officials were stunned. They knew I practiced martial arts, but not that I had reached the Ranshan realm. In the entire Qingtian Empire, only Su Huimi had ever displayed such power at such a young age. He's a future legend, and he's actually suppressing the first prince, a military general exclaimed. The generals watched in shock as the two battled atop the palace. To be a genius is one thing, but to crush one while at a lower level is monstrous. My sword technique was terrifying, forcing the first prince into a purely defensive stance. Everyone marveled at my dominance, noting I was the spitting image of God of War Su Long. The first prince let out a cry of frustration from within the sword ring. He, a prince of the Dark Knight race, had spent years infiltrating the humans and conspiring with orcs. Yet, his plans were ruined by me, and he couldn't even defeat me despite revealing his true strength. Suyu, I'll kill you, the first prince roared in fury. It was an unbearable humiliation to be bested by a human youth. A terrifying blade light suddenly erupted, shattering the sword ring. The first prince broke free, wounded, and slashed at me. I gripped my true emperor sword. The sword hummed, eager for battle. One sword light piece, tilt the world. I whispered. The sound echoed through the palace as a beautiful, lethal arc of light met the incoming blade. A massive explosion of energy followed. The dust cleared, revealing the first prince. He spat blood, his face pale. How? How are you this strong? He gasped in disbelief. The first prince was covered in deep, bone-reaching wounds, a pathetic state for a soul-shattering realm expert. His true Dark Knight race features emerged, pale skin and cat-like purple pupils. A thick tail tore through his robes. His disguise was broken. He looked around to see his 1,000 elite assassins dead. Only the officials and the traversing camp soldiers remained, staring at him with hatred. The prince they once admired was an alien infiltrator. Despair washed over him. He couldn't beat me, and his elite forces were wiped out by the soldiers. Don't think you've won. My race has. He spat, filled with resentment. An alien beast like you dares to speak. I sneered, preparing another strike. One sword light piece, tilt the world. I channeled all my internal force into a concentrated, devastating beam of light. The light illuminated the entire Imperial capital. The first prince, terrified and desperate, raised his blade to block. The clash was deafening. His giant blade shattered into pieces. The true Emperor's sword proved its quality as a divine weapon. The first prince stood frozen in shock. His weapon was destroyed, and the sword energy surged forward. He desperately tried to defend with his gang chi. The sword energy pierced his defenses like a venomous dragon. It wreaked havoc inside his body. I'm forced to kill you, I said coldly. For the sake of humanity, the alien had to die. You talk big, the prince retorted. He lunged at me, his fists glowing with heat, aiming for my head. Even without a weapon, the Dark Knight race's physical prowess was legendary. He sought to kill me with a single, desperate strike. Oh no, the young prince's internal force must be exhausted, the officials cried. Many closed their eyes, unable to watch. The first prince grinned, thinking I was stunned. System, congratulations, you have learned the third technique of the true Emperor Scroll, floating sword intent. A warm current surged through me. The world slowed down. I was now faster than my opponent. My body flickered. The prince's fist passed through my image, which then dissipated. He had only hit a remnant shadow. Where is he? The prince felt a sharp wind from above. The pressure was reminiscent of the god of war himself. The onlookers watched in awe. I dove from the air like a hawk. The prince rolled away, but my palm grazed his back, tearing flesh and drawing blood. The first prince, unable to fly due to internal sword chi, stared in shock as I hovered effortlessly. How are you faster than me? He stammered. I chuckled. That's fast. Watch this. And vanished, my voice echoing. Floating sword intent. In a blink, I appeared behind the prince, delivering a brutal, chi-infused hand strike. This is for your treachery, I declared coldly. My Ranshan realm power erupted, slamming into the prince's spine. The prince vomited blood, his body reeling from the impact. Even a soul-shattering realm expert couldn't withstand such a strike while already suffering from internal injuries. As the prince was sent flying, the military general Huang Zhongyi trembled, his expression one of pure terror. My speed was beyond comprehension, even for peak Ranshan realm experts like Gao Shan. The true Emperor Scroll and innate Supreme Tao body proved their superiority. The prince, shocked that the trash he despised possessed such power, could only watch as I caught up to him. This slap is for insulting the Su prince's estate. I struck. The force sent the prince spinning, his teeth and blood flying through the air. The officials gasped, stunned into silence. I, relentless, caught the prince by the ankle and slammed him into the ground. And this third strike is for an alien beast daring to rule humanity. The palace floor cracked under the impact, shaking the entire hall. The prince lay like a broken rag doll, bloodied and covered in fractures. I stood tall. 3 moves to show you human dignity is inviolable. The officials were awestruck, realizing my strength far surpassed my reputation. They marveled at the Su prince's estate's hidden power. The crowd remained immersed in the shock of my dominance. This battle would cement me as a rising star on the Four Directions continent. The once unattainable soul-shattering realm no longer seemed so daunting. I had proven that some monsters are born to crush geniuses. I don't submit, the prince hissed, eyes filled with hatred. I smiled cruelly. Then I'll beat you until you do. I kicked the prince high into the air. I then grabbed the prince's head and smashed him back into the stone floor. The prince was utterly helpless. The officials watched, horrified by my ruthless efficiency. Only the prince's high cultivation kept him alive, though he was clearly nearing his end. Gasping for air, the prince managed to speak. Spitting blood, he snarled, "Don't think winning this fight saves humanity. The Dark Knight Empire's vanguard is already here, hidden near the capital." He laughed maniacally. "If I die, this city falls. The Chantian Empire was the strongest human bastion. Its fall would spell doom for all. If Chantian fell, the hope of the human race would shatter. Everyone will die. You, Suyu, and your women in the estate. All of you." The prince stood shakily, pointing at the terrified officials. The Dark Knight Empire was a formidable alien power, even stronger than the Orc Empire. The prince had secretly infiltrated the capital with their elite forces. Panic rippled through the officials. They looked to me for salvation. Huang Zhongyi whispered, "Should we take him hostage to force a retreat?" I ignored the suggestion, looking at the prince. "Is this your trump card?" "Yes. Your armies are in the northern frontier. You have nothing left but weak city guards." The prince sneered at the cowering officials. He believed his long-term strategy ensured the Dark Knight Empire's victory regardless of his personal defeat. The officials' faces turned deathly pale. They realized the prince had been planning this for years. He was a true mastermind. A city guard rushed into the palace, looking panicked. Recognizing my authority via the Emperor Lord's golden token, the soldier approached me, reporting, 10,000 unknown troops spotted 50 kilometers out, pale skin, tails. It's the Dark Knight race." The news struck like lightning. The officials trembled, realizing the threat was real. The prince roared, "Kill Suyu and surrender, or the city falls." The room gasped. All eyes darted between the prince and me. Even in defeat, the prince sought to destroy me. "Kill me?" I asked, my expression unreadable. "Yes, kill him, and I'll spare you," the prince taunted. He laughed, certain the humans would choose survival over loyalty. He viewed humans as cowards who would sacrifice anything to live. But as he waited for their betrayal, the officials did something unexpected. Clang, led by Huang Zhongyi, the generals drew their swords and surrounded the prince. Blades pressed against his throat. The helpless prince realized his plan had failed. "What are you doing? Do you not fear death? My army is only 50 miles away and will take the Imperial capital in an instant." The first prince stammered, his cowardice drawing only contempt. I still remember General Yi's final words. Huang Zhongyi spoke, his eyes bloodshot as he glared at the first prince alongside the other military generals. "May I not be born human in the next life, for the shame of it," I said with a faint, chilling smile that made everyone tremble. The empire was on the brink of collapse. The first prince was an alien, the old emperor was dead, the military was deployed elsewhere, and the enemy was at the gates. Is it so hard to wake up and stand tall as a human? It is not. A nation's backbone is built upon the courage of every individual to face adversity without bowing. If the spine bends, everything is lost. Kill him. I waved my hand dismissively. Hang his head on the wall. Tell the Dark Knight race that the human race never fears war. The human race never fears war. Huang Zhongyi roared, swinging his blade. Before the first prince could finish his scream, his head fell into a pool of blood. The first prince lay dead, his green eyes wide with lingering disbelief and resentment. What gave these humans such backbone? The human race never fears war. The human race never fears war. Officials and the traversing camp soldiers roared, raising their weapons amidst the blood, their scarred armor a testament to their resolve. This was the clarion call of a rising nation, a people standing tall once more. Report. The Dark Knight race vanguard is only 40 miles away and accelerating. Please, young prince, give the order. Scouts arrived, and the officials turned to me with desperate hope. After the surprises I had already provided, they wondered what miracle I could conjure to save millions. Young prince, if you have any hidden cards left, play them. The city is dying. Guoda and the others looked at me with shame and expectation. I was their only pillar of support. My hidden cards. I smiled candidly. I have no cards left. Everything I have is already on the table. Despair washed over the crowd as they exchanged horrified glances. A Jinui rider burst in, kneeling before me. "My lord." The vanguard has joined another force, over 50,000 strong, including 10,000 Baisui realm elites. The news of 50,000 troops and 10,000 Baisui realm warriors sent a wave of terror through the room. Young prince, we must flee to the northern frontier. We can find God of War Su. He has the troops to save us. I interrupted Guada's frantic plea with a cold, sharp tone. Flee? If I flee, what becomes of these soldiers? What becomes of the millions of citizens? The Su prince's estate has been honored for thousands of years. How could I possibly run? My lord, we have no army to fight tens of thousands of aliens. Let us leave while we can. With fewer than 10,000 non-elite troops, victory seemed impossible. You may flee if you wish, I do not blame you. But I cannot. Some things are worth dying for. If the heir to the Su prince's estate fled, the people would have no hope left. As long as I stayed, the people would retain a shred of comfort. If someone had to bear the weight of this despair, it would be me. But if you die, the god of war will have no heir. Huang Zhongyi lamented. The Su prince's estate was the empire's last hope. I carry the name Su. I cannot flee, and I cannot fear death. My smile was as warm as the morning sun, yet it shook everyone to their core. That simple statement held more resolve than any grand speech. Knowing death was certain, I marched forward anyway. Gao Shun gripped his spear, his body trembling with emotion. A surge of blood-boiling inspiration swept through the room. Gao Shun, I commanded, lead the 800 traversing camp soldiers to the east gate. Huang Zhongyi, take 3,000 city guards to secure the city and hold the south gate. Condensed into 10536, as I turned to the officials, they stepped forward one by one. My Su family will provide 1,000 private soldiers. My Zhang family, 1,200. My Yi family, 800. A veteran general laughed. We are veterans of the northern frontier. We don't fear these aliens. Good. The northwest gates are yours. I thank you on behalf of the people. I bowed deeply. No time for formalities. Go. Today, we shall all be heroes of the human race. To be heroes, the officials roared, their fear replaced by a singular, defiant purpose. With the young prince leading the way, the officials united to defend the city. Gao Shun, let's go to the east gate. The east gate was the enemy's path and would be the site of the fiercest battle. Gao Shun and the traversing camp followed me toward the front lines. I rode out of the palace, galloping toward the east gate. The city was in chaos, the citizens gripped by the sudden, terrifying arrival of war. No one welcomed the bloodshed and death that war brought. It's the young prince. Don't lose. Please don't abandon us. The crowd clamored, their voices filled with desperate prayers. They were the most innocent and helpless of all. Condensed into 10551. I slowed my horse, my heart heavy as I looked at the frightened faces. Rest assured, as long as the Su prince's estate stands, the city lives. I will protect you with my life. Go home, lock your doors, and wait for victory. I roared, my voice echoing through the streets. I must win. We believe in you, young prince. You are the next god of war. Victory. Citizens were gripped by war-induced panic, pinning all their hopes on me. With Su long absent from the capital, I was their only reliance. The Su name was a legendary symbol of the human race. The weight of this trust was both moving and suffocating for me. Giddy up. I spurred my horse forward, followed closely by Gao Shun and his warriors. As they thundered past the Su prince's estate, I didn't even glance at the women and servants waiting at the gate. I could not stop. I was no longer just the young master, but the son of the god of war, racing toward the front lines. Sister, the young master. Ling Yin'er clutched Shangwan Wan'er's arm, her eyes fixed on my retreating back in terror. I hadn't looked back once. He must fight. Nian sighed. Behind him lie the lives of millions in the capital. Nian felt a bitter ache in her heart, despite her pride in me. Why must such a heavy burden fall on me? The women watched my white-robed figure disappear, their hearts heavy with longing and worry. City guards roared throughout the capital. The young prince commands you to return home. Leave the rest to us. The Su prince's estate will never abandon you. Fight for our home, our people, and the human race. 5,000 Jinyui were deployed among the citizens to maintain order. Led by Yang Mingwei, they served as a mobile reserve, ready to reinforce any of the 4 gates under pressure. I mobilized every available resource, including the few servants from my estate, to bolster the city's defenses. I had exhausted every possible source of manpower. I needed 10,000 men to have a chance at victory. With the old emperor dead, I had no idea what the Empire's hidden trump card was. Reaching the East Gate, I found the capital in a state of total mobilization. I handed command to Gao Shun and immediately consulted the system. Is there a formation-strengthening item in the Myriad Realms Mall? Lacking the time or points to upgrade individual warriors or buy legendary realm pills, I turned to system items to tip the scales. The system explained that the formation-strengthening item was a one-time, 24-hour buff that varied based on the original formation's quality. The system provided a detailed, human-like explanation. I cut it off. I want to exchange for it. Each item costs 100,000 public support energy, the system replied. The prompt echoed. The item was powerful but carried a slight risk of negative effects. I dismissed the risk. The minor star array was of high enough quality to withstand any minor fluctuations. Exchange for. I spent all my public support energy as dust clouds appeared on the horizon. Massive, hideous black beasts with lashing tails and gaping maws charged toward them. Exchange successful. For pills appeared in my backpack, capable of manifesting any desired effect upon a formation. Rumble. As the beasts neared, the enemy was revealed. Pale-skinned, green-eyed Dark Knight race warriors with tails. A vanguard of 10,000 Baishui realm cavalry on black beasts. Behind them, 40,000 Ninghun realm infantry, the elite of the Dark Knight Empire. They intended to crush the Changtian Empire in one strike. The East Gate defenders, including 800 traversing camp soldiers and servants, braced themselves. Despite being the smallest force, the East Gate's morale was highest because of me. The Legion halted outside the walls, staring up at the humans. The cavalry stood in disciplined, terrifying silence. Seeing my servants trembling, I smiled calmly. Don't fear, I am still here. My steady presence instantly calmed them. A rider emerged from the enemy ranks. He was muscular, golden-haired, and wielded a heavy short halberd. He locked eyes with me. I am Mike Jyoke, commander of the Dark Knight Cavalry, he sneered. Bring out your first prince. Mike was a renowned Nirvana realm prodigy of the Dark Knight race, far superior to any local talent. You come with such killing intent, I replied coolly. Are you sure you want to get involved in this mess? You might not make it out. My voice carried a chilling threat. The weak are meant to be conquered. That is the truth of the Four Directions continent. Mike laughed. A mere Ranshan realm waste like you dares to threaten me? How hilarious. Mike roared to his troops. Tell them who we are. The Knight Cavalry Regiment. The continent's #1. The roar of the beasts and the soldiers shook the defenders, causing some to tremble. Ha! Mike saw their fear and shouted. Boy, get your first prince. I have no time for you. He expected to take the city easily with the first prince's internal cooperation. The continent's #1? What a joke, I retorted. If the Black Jade Cavalry were here, they would show these beasts true power. You want to see the first prince? I signaled my men. Throw him down. Understood. Gao Shun tossed the corpse of the first prince over the wall like trash. The body hit the ground with a thud, kicking up dust. The pale skin, green eyes, and tail revealed the first prince's true identity as an alien. I narrowed my eyes, smiling coldly as I gestured toward the corpse on the ground. Here is the first prince you wanted. I'm returning him to you. The 50,000 Dark Knight soldiers, including Mike, fell into a stunned silence, staring in horror at the lifeless body sprawled in the dirt. The corpse was unmistakably that of the Dark Knight race's young master. Had it not been for the Emperor's secret decree and golden medallion provided by Su Long, even I might have fallen to the first prince's schemes. Despite the first prince's formidable talent and intellect, he was now nothing more than a corpse in the dust. You killed him. Mike dismounted in shock, rushing to the first prince's side, his expression twisted with disbelief. The first prince held a status in the Dark Knight race equal to mine in the Changtian Empire. The Dark Knight race had only risked such a valuable asset because of the critical importance of their invasion plan and the prince's innate ability to shapeshift. Damn you. You killed our young master. Mike looked up, his eyes burning with hatred as he glared at the white-clad figure on the ramparts. I ignored him, waving my hand dismissively. Archers, fire. As a rain of arrows descended, Mike grabbed the corpse and retreated into the ranks of the night cavalry. I hadn't expected a single volley to kill a Nirvana realm expert, but I found Mike's arrogance intolerable. Setting the body down, Mike stared at me, his voice icy. "I swear, I will kill you." "Too much talk." Gao Shun stepped forward, roaring. "If you want to fight, then fight. We fear nothing." "Good. Very good." Mike laughed grimly, drawing his short halberd. "Surround the city. Slaughter everyone to avenge our young master." The soldiers roared in response. "Slaughter the city." The Dark Knight forces spread out, with 10,000 elites at each gate, including Baishui Realm Cavalry and Ninghun Realm Infantry at the east gate. "Attack," Mike commanded. The air filled with the sounds of war drums, smoke, and the clash of weapons. With superior numbers and full siege equipment, the situation for the defenders looked dire. "Archers, ready. Fire," Gao Shun commanded. Arrows infused with Gang Chi rained down, but they failed to penetrate the defenses of the elite alien warriors. Mike sneered, locking eyes with me. "Reflect." The alien army deflected the arrows back, causing heavy casualties among the human defenders. Screams erupted across the walls. Soldiers fell from the ramparts as the city gates took heavy damage. With the human forces dwindling, the battle seemed nearly lost. Gao Shun looked to me, and I calmly ordered, "Continue the counterattack. Use volley fire, logs, and oil." I crushed 2 formation-enhancing pills. Strengthen the minor star array. Expand. A massive silver light erupted from the Su Prince's estate. The light surged outward. Like falling stars, the minor star array expanded to envelop the entire Imperial capital. A shimmering silver barrier rose, intercepting the incoming arrow fire. The human soldiers cheered, realizing the young prince had activated the formation. Even Mike watched with growing unease. "A mere formation? I'll shatter it." Mike drew his heavy bow and fired. A Nirvana realm strike, concentrated with intense Gang Chi, slammed into the barrier. A metallic clang echoed. The arrow fell harmlessly, leaving only a ripple on the shield. Even a Nirvana realm expert's attack proved useless. "Damn it," Mike roared. "Quick, use the ladders. Force the assault." The Dark Knight infantry surged forward with ladders. The Baishui realm warriors at the east gate held back, waiting to analyze the formation. I felt the strain on the expanded array. I crushed a second pill. Strengthened the effect. The silver light intensified. "Gao Shun now? Counterattack." Gao Shun ordered the release of logs and fire oil, while I activated the array's mental influence. Illusion. Amplify fear. The minor star array pulsed, casting powerful illusions over the attackers. The logs suddenly felt like crushing mountains, causing alien soldiers to vomit blood and fall from the ladders. Spontaneous flames erupted, turning the oil-soaked soldiers into human torches. Simultaneously, the human archers' arrows appeared as an endless, lethal storm to the disoriented invaders. The arrows now pierced armor and flesh with ease, felling the alien warriors. Screams of agony filled the air. The array's illusion, though diluted by the scale, was devastating against the Ninghun realm soldiers. The human defenders rallied, encouraged by the turn of events. The citizens inside the city felt a glimmer of hope. The tide of battle began to shift. Mike's face darkened as thousands of his elites fell within minutes. His deputy warned him that they were suffering unsustainable losses. "I know." Mike glared at me with pure hatred. I, controlling the array via the system, shifted defenses to wherever the pressure was greatest. I alone had neutralized the 60,000-strong army, causing massive casualties while the humans remained unscathed. Damn him. If not for this brat, I would have taken the city already. Mike gritted his teeth in frustration. But he had a trump card. His master would arrive soon. I remained focused on controlling the formation, not daring to let my mind wander or overdraw the formation's energy. Who would have guessed that after expanding the minor star array, its energy consumption would be this astronomical? The rate at which the minor star array was draining energy now was more than 100 times what it had been before. I currently lacked sufficient public support energy and had to rely on the Imperial capital's reserves of energy or to maintain the formation's effects. Strengthen the formation's effects. Reduce energy consumption. Forced to crush another formation-strengthening pill, I managed to have the energy consumption. Meanwhile, inside the Imperial capital, quick, 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 bring everything in. Move faster. In front of the Su Prince's mansion, Suyu, dragging his severely wounded body, gritted his teeth as he directed house servants and commoners to take the monster crystal cores and energy or brought from the Imperial palace and noble families, placing them into the eyes of the Su Prince's mansion's formation to sustain its operation. Whether we can protect the Imperial capital depends entirely on the young prince's formation. Everyone, pick up the pace. Suyu shouted. The three women were nearby, helping to maintain order. Guard Suyu. We're running out of ore. What do we do? The formation is consuming energy too quickly. The reserves from the Imperial palace are already running low. Someone's anxious voice rang out, and the expressions of everyone present shifted in shock. Everyone knew by now that it was impossible to hold the city relying solely on the soldiers. Everything now depended on the young prince's formation. If the energy ran out, the formation would inevitably fail, and then everything would be lost. What? Sujio's face turned pale, his expression instantly becoming hideous. Just then, a series of clear, resonant voices suddenly rang out outside the Su Prince's mansion. On the orders of my family head, I, Su Ming, have come to deliver 100 top-tier monster inner cores from my clan, to aid the might of our human race. On the orders of my family head, I, Zhang Yi, have come to deliver 1,300 high-quality energy ores from my clan, to lend the young prince a helping hand. One voice after another rose up. These were the heavenly pride scholars from various great families, all of whom had brought the last of their clan's foundations and precious energy treasures to the Su Prince's mansion. Quick, let them in. Suyu was ecstatic and couldn't help but shout. The gates of the Su Prince's mansion were thrown wide open, and groups of clansmen from the various noble houses began transporting energy ores and monster crystal cores that shimmered with strange light into the estate. A large number of scholarly heavenly prides also gathered there at the same moment. Everyone, we owe this all to you. Suyu expressed his heartfelt gratitude to this group of scholarly heavenly prides, people who, just half a month ago, had even stood in opposition to me. But now, they had all set aside their past grievances to build an iron-blooded wall for the human race. This is a moment of crisis for the human race. If we continue to hoard our resources now, how could we ever call ourselves upright men? My brother is fighting hard at the North City Gate, so that my brother doesn't die in battle. I can only contribute my meager strength. Work together, resist the alien races. The scholars laughed heartily. If they weren't unversed in martial Tao, they would surely have rushed to the city walls to engage the alien races in bloody combat and unleash the majesty of the human race. Good. A truly wonderful working together. Sujio's tiger-like eyes filled with tears, and he couldn't help but laugh out loud. Meanwhile, outside the city, how much longer until that lord arrives? Mike stared fixedly at the battle on the city walls and asked his deputy in a low voice. His soldiers were still on the scaling ladders, unable to climb up at all. The formation was too insidious, or rather, I had long since seen through Mike's attempt to use his soldiers to drain the formation's energy. Unless the alien warriors were about to reach the top of the wall, the formation would not unleash its power. Every time the formation's illusion was deployed, it was aimed specifically at areas with the highest concentration of troops, targeting the vanguard army. If nothing goes wrong, that lord should be 1,000 miles away, arriving in about half an hour. The deputy answered Mike respectfully. 1,000 miles in only half an hour. It was clear how profound that lord's cultivation was. Pass my order. Intensify the siege. Mike snorted in anger and ordered in a low voice. He had to capture the city before that lord arrived. Otherwise, the military merit would surely be snatched away. Understood. The deputy general received the order and left. Dong, dong, dong. A deafening sound of war drums erupted, nearly shattering people's eardrums. These were the drums of the alien races. Kill. A massive number of alien warriors were added to the siege force, attacking the Imperial capital without fear of death. Aside from the 10,000 Baishui realm alien cavalry, tens of thousands of Ninghun realm alien warriors piled onto the city walls like dense swarms of locusts, making one's heart tremble. And these locusts were all highly skilled combatants. All four walls of the Imperial capital had to withstand enemies that were superior in both strength and numbers. They've increased the intensity of the attack. There are too many alien warriors. We can't kill them all, young master. Gao Shun's voice was heavy and anxious. The long spear in his hand was already stained with blood. He and the soldiers of the traversing camp had been fighting in a bloodbath for a long time to prevent these aliens from scaling the walls. Some even had blades that had chipped from the constant hacking. The battle was already difficult. Aside from the traversing camp, the other human soldiers were generally only around the Gudi realm. With the help of the formation, they often needed dozens of strikes to kill a single alien warrior. Now that the enemy had increased their numbers, the situation was truly adding frost to snow. Everyone knew that if the alien warriors managed to scale the walls, their superior combat strength would allow them to tear open the defenses of the human Imperial capital in an instant, expand their advantage, and take the city. The situation had undoubtedly become critical. The human Imperial capital already lacked sufficient defenders, and now it was even harder to hold. Everyone was gritting their teeth to defend. The battle had reached its most intense moment. Keep holding on. My voice was low as I stared fixedly at the battle below. I was hesitating whether to use the thunderous power of the minor star array. I couldn't guarantee that after playing my trump card, the enemy wouldn't have another one up their sleeve. This was a life-or-death war. Any mistake by me could determine the fate of the millions of humans behind me. The urgency of the war allowed for no carelessness from me. All troops, fight to the death. Gao Shun roared, raising his spear. Soldiers, follow me and swear to defend the Imperial capital to the death. Roar! Many soldiers shouted toward the sky, gritting their teeth as they continued to fight on the walls. Behind them were their wives, children, and parents, the millions of human commoners. No one would retreat. If their hands grew numb from hacking, they switched to the other. If they grew exhausted, they gritted their teeth and kept going. Even if blood blinded their eyes, they kept their unyielding tiger-like eyes wide open, continuing to fight, continuing to kill. Just then, a series of loud, clear voices rang out within the Imperial capital's walls. The third son of the Su family, here to assist in the battle. The second son of the Zhang family, here to assist in the battle. The Yi family young master, here to assist in the battle. One by one, the young heavenly prides of various families who were still in cultivation picked up weapons and volunteered to head to the four city walls to support the human battlefield. Among them, the oldest was only 17, and the youngest were only 11 or 12. These were the young heavenly prides of the various families, most of whom were only around the Gudi realm. They were the foundation of the next generation for their families and the hope for their continued prosperity. But at this moment, they stepped onto the battlefield. At this point, no one dared to hold anything back. Anyone who could be sent to fight was sent. You bastards. Second brother, who told you to come? Get back home. The older brothers are enough here. Go home. Scolding and angry roars erupted, yet they could not stop these people from joining. At this moment of life and death for the human race, how can I sit by and watch my brothers and father fight on the walls? Brothers fight together. We fight together, and we die together. The four walls echoed with the stubborn, unyielding voices of the youths. At this moment, they displayed their youthful rebellion and tenacity on the cruel and merciless battlefield. This was the never-fading, never-extinguishing pure heart within these burning young seedlings. We may be weak, and we may not have grown up yet, but we possess the unyielding determination to charge forward and resist the alien races at the city walls. Good, I shouted loudly, my voice carrying through the formation and echoing throughout the Imperial capital. My human race has an unyielding spirit. Why should we fear the alien races? This king permits you to fight. A glorious race, young heavenly prides, bathing in the blood of the battlefield, never stopping. This is the demeanor that the heroes of our human race should have. They have no strength left to fight. Charge quickly and take the city walls. Mike laughed coldly, his voice filled with confidence and ferocious killing intent. These damned humans dare to challenge the majesty of the Dark Knight race. They must die miserably within the Imperial capital to appease my anger. The soldiers of the Dark Knight race frantically launched a new wave of attacks, and the pressure on the four walls grew heavier. Even with the assistance of the minor star array's illusions, weaker human soldiers began to die or suffer severe injuries. Just when Mike thought he had the battle in his control, a cold, ghostly voice, influenced by the minor star array, resounded between heaven and earth. Thunder descends. Aid the might of my human race. I was seen floating above the east city wall, my white robes fluttering in the wind, my black hair dancing without a breeze, my face stern and indifferent. I raised both hands, my fair palms grasping at the void, and roared, "Thunder, come!" Rumble. A shrill bolt of lightning exploded out of thin air in the middle of the day. Boom, boom, boom. The power of the thunder was immense, instantly turning hundreds of Dark Knight alien warriors gathered at the East City Gate into dust. They couldn't even let out a sound. They vanished on the spot, struck into tiny specks of dust between heaven and earth. My God, Mike was completely stunned. Is he even human? How can he control thunder? The 10,000 Bisway realm alien knights were all dumbfounded. The giant beasts beneath them couldn't help but crawl on the ground, whimpering, their eyes filled with fear. The power of heaven's thunder. Who would dare defy it? That's the young prince. It's the young prince. The young prince is summoning thunder. Thunder guards the city. One man alone resists tens of thousands of alien troops. That is our god of war. The people murmured, their voices trembling uncontrollably. Everyone in the Imperial capital could see that figure in the long robes in the distance, standing proudly in the void, holding the heavenly tribulation of thunder, as if an immortal had descended to the world. Keep charging. I don't believe he can keep summoning thunder. I want to see if he has more thunder, or if I have more soldiers. Mike roared with a ferocious expression. The power of thunder was indeed terrifying, but it could only wipe out hundreds of soldiers at a time, and he had tens of thousands of powerful infantry. Even if he had to pile up human lives, he could reach the city walls. Mike was a martial Dao heavenly pride of the Four Directions continent. He would never allow himself to be defeated by a lowly human city. Even if he had to carve a path of blood, he would take this human imperial capital. Kill. Amidst Mike's roars, a new wave of the siege began at all four gates, with alien warriors swarming in like a tide. The battle at all four gates became strained simultaneously. Under the full force attack of the alien army, the casualties at the four gates increased. Kill. Defend the imperial capital, kill. Screams and battle cries mixed together, blood and death intertwined, performing a ruthless, iron-blooded war. Millions of commoners in the imperial capital walked out of their homes, looking toward the East City Gate with tension and anticipation at the white figure floating in the void. A cloak draped over my shoulders, a long sword already in my hand. I waited only for the aliens to come, and I would surely slay them. Thunder, come. The crowd was not disappointed. My ghostly voice rang out once more. This time, it was a thunderous rage. Thousands of lightning bolts appeared simultaneously beneath all four city gates. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Countless dense bolts of heavenly thunder appeared, and the entire sky grew dim as thick, dark clouds covered the entire battlefield. A massive amount of thunder struck the walls and the earth, taking the lives of countless alien warriors, and the sheer volume of thunder even triggered weather phenomena. The sky began to drizzle, as if heaven itself wanted to wash away all the war, blood, and sin in the world. Heaven. The Dark Knight race deputy couldn't help but swallow hard. He watched helplessly as his soldiers suffered heavy casualties. Thousands of lightning bolts fell, taking the lives of over 10,000 Dark Knight warriors. It left a vacuum on the entire battlefield. My lord, his thunder, it's truly endless. The deputy's voice trembled uncontrollably, making Mike's face turn dark and hideous. Beneath Mike's gloomy expression were eyes filled with shock and unwillingness as he stared fixedly at me floating above the wall. Is this white-robed human man even human? Left hand holding thunder, right hand holding a precious sword. wantonly controlling the situation of the war. I'll do it, Mike roared, a feeling of humiliation filling his internal force. As a martial Dao heavenly pride, his refusal to admit defeat rose up. With a clang, he drew his short halberds, leaped into the air, and flew toward me, who stood proudly in the high sky. Let me test you, human brat. Your death day has arrived. Mike growled, his eyes locked on me. The pair of peerless short halberds in his hands erupted with intense gang chi, transforming into two gang chi dragon spears as he charged toward me without hesitation. A mere Nyepan, yet you dare to be arrogant. I watched coldly, sizing up the charging Mike with icy eyes. All who are not Chuanchi are but ants. With the blessing of the minor star array, no one below the Chuanchi realm could hope to shake me at this moment. Thunder, come, I growled, and the true Emperor's sword in my hand made a sudden gesture, drawing heavenly thunder from the depths of the dark clouds. A thick bolt of lightning crashed down, fierce as a true dragon pouncing. The lightning struck the two gang chi dragon spears with incredible speed, its momentum undiminished as it instantly pierced through Mike's body. Crack! A crisp sound rang out. Mike's eyes widened in rage, and he spat out a mouthful of blood, his entire body flying backward like a broken rag, crashing down from the void. Boom! A deep crater was smashed into the ground, dust and debris flying everywhere, and Mike was nowhere to be seen. Commander! My lord! The Dark Knight warriors panicked and rushed to the crater. The peerless heavenly pride of their generation, who had never known defeat and could stand toe-to-toe with the heavenly prides of other powerful races, had been unable to withstand a single move from this human brat. Amazing! Long live the young prince! The young prince will win. Strong cheers erupted from within the city. Millions of human commoners couldn't hold back their hot blood and excitement, and they couldn't help but shout at the top of their lungs. They had all seen the scene of me defeating the alien expert in one move. This was their invincible god of war. This was the Suyu family, overbearing and peerless, defeating the enemy in one strike. To the thousands of powerful races in this world, I wantonly unleashed the glorious majesty of our human race. Cough, cough. As the smoke and dust settled, Mike, clutching his chest, struggled to crawl out of the crater with the help of his subordinates. If not for a personal treasure protecting his life, he would have died under that shocking bolt of thunder. However, even if Mike wasn't dead, he was severely injured, barely able to stand. Oh, not dead yet. Then hurry up and come back to die. Let's fight again. I raised an eyebrow, my voice clear and echoing far away. Hearing my words, Mike felt like spitting out a mouthful of old blood. Too bullying. This human brat is too bullying. Relying on his thunder, he actually insults me like this. Mike's eyes were filled with sorrow, anger, and humiliation. That lord, how much longer until he arrives? Mike's voice was bitter. He didn't order the others to continue the siege. Instead, he asked his deputy in a low voice. Although he didn't want to admit it, at this point, Mike had to acknowledge that relying only on himself and his army, they could not resist this power of thunder. He should be here soon. The deputy's voice was very soft. Everyone felt humiliated. At this moment, none of these alien warriors dared to step forward to siege the city. The power of me alone had made tens of thousands of strong alien troops afraid to take a single step forward. Remember this well, from today on, and for the next 10,000 years. 10,000 years. You will all remember my name. My name is Suyu. My voice was clear and indifferent. This ghostly voice echoed between heaven and earth, as if swearing an oath, and as if pouring out the humiliation and anger hidden in the hearts of the human race for thousands of years. I, Suyu, swear here today, with heaven and earth as my witness. In this world, the human race will no longer be violated. Those who offend my human race, no matter how far, shall be punished. My voice was haunting, reaching inside and outside the Imperial capital, making the hearts of the human commoners and soldiers boil with hot blood, wanting to roar and shout to release the excitement in their hearts. Long live the young prince. Those who offend our human race, no matter how far, shall be punished. Kill them all. The generals roared, raising their weapons high, their momentum surging. Heaven pities our human race for suffering disasters for thousands of years, only to grant us this human heavenly pride. Young Prince Su. Mike's face was dark, his teeth gritted. He had come with such aggressive momentum, only to meet such a blow. This was something the self-important Mike could not accept. The heavenly pride of the Four Directions continent could not defeat a young man of the lowly human race. However, just as my voice fell, a cold, insidious voice drifted over, carrying a trace of disdain and contempt. What a human race will not be violated? I would like to see today which young human boy dares to speak such wild words. This voice sounded like the supreme principle of heaven and earth, stirring the hearts and lungs of the people, making their blood boil and their heartbeats uncontrollable. Before the voice had even faded, everyone could see a streak of light appear from the horizon, arriving in an instant at the edge of the city. A middle-aged man of the Dark Knight race stood proudly in the void, a giant tail swaying behind him, and a pair of huge golden wheels spinning and circling around his body, humming. This man's momentum was magnificent. He seemed to float in the void, yet he was hard to see clearly, only giving the feeling of a rich pressure pressing down, making people feel so uncomfortable they wanted to vomit blood. It's the Chuanchi realm. Gao Shun gritted his teeth and roared, struggling to hold on within this abyss-like pressure. Gao Shun's words made the expressions of the generals turn blank. Chuanchi realm. This was a terrifying existence that could destroy a country with a wave of his hand. It's the Dalawan Venerable. Mike's face lit up with joy, and he couldn't help but shout, "Mike, why are you injured?" Dalawan Venerable looked down at Mike, shocked, and quickly waved his hand, flicking a pill from the void. "Eat it. Tell me, who hurt you?" Dalawan Venerable's expression was cold, his voice serious. "Thank you, Venerable, for the medicine." Mike took the pill and said respectfully, "It is my own lack of skill. I nearly fell into the hands of that human brat." Mike pointed at me. Dalawan Venerable turned to look at me, sneering. "So you are the one who hurt my nephew?" It turned out that Dalawan Venerable was Mike's uncle. "That's right." I waved my long sleeves, my expression indifferent, my voice cold. "Never mind this alien beast. Even you. Today, you shall not bully my human race." "Haha, you have quite the mouth on you." Dalawan Venerable laughed in anger, his eyes full of contempt, looking at me with arrogance. "You, a mere Ranshan realm martial artist. If not for the mystery of this formation, how could you be qualified to hurt my nephew?" Dalawan Venerable's voice grew louder and louder, shaking the world, his voice containing profound mystery, making people feel so uncomfortable they were on the verge of vomiting blood, causing the soldiers on the walls to clutch their chests and spit blood repeatedly. "Humph." I let out a muffled groan, a trace of anger flashing in my deep eyes. I crushed the fourth formation pill, feeling a surge of energy that shielded me from the oppressive aura of the legendary realm. "In my eyes, you are just a pathetic wretch of a lowly race. Though this formation is somewhat interesting." Dalawan Venerable gazed at the Imperial capital's silver barrier, knowing the Dark Knight race could not breach the city without destroying it. Suddenly, he exclaimed in surprise, "Wait, the formation it's on you." Dalawan Venerable sneered, "A clever human boy, anchoring the formation to yourself to harness its power and prevent its destruction. If I do not die, the city will not fall. If I die, the city still will not fall." My voice was resolute. The fourth pill had achieved human formation unity. I and the minor star array were now one. My cultivation surged to the peak of the Nirvana realm, a state I would maintain for 24 hours under the array's influence. The strongest below the legendary realm. "How stubborn," Dalawan Venerable scoffed. He pointed at me, grinning hideously. "Let's see how long your human dignity lasts against my Dark Knight Iron Army." "Come," he roared. "At your command." A line of warriors from the Black Giant Beast Legion floated into the sky behind him. They were all Nirvana realm experts. The defenders on the walls realized with horror that Dalawan Venerable had brought an entire elite squad. The Dark Knight race's superiority in Nirvana realm experts over the Chantian Empire was stark. "Let's see if your unfallen city holds. Someone, go up there and shatter his body to destroy the formation eye." Dalawan Venerable commanded dismissively, too proud to strike a mere youth himself. "Yes." A Nirvana realm warrior stepped forward, wielding a mountain-cleaving axe, and sneered, "I am a high-level warrior of the Dark Knight race." Before he could finish, I snapped, "Too much talk. I don't listen to the dead." Swish! The true Emperor's sword roared like thunder, flashing toward the warrior. "Die, boy." The warrior swung his axe, but my sword moved with a graceful, floating arc, slicing across his throat. Splatter! The warrior fell dead. The Dark Knight forces stood stunned, unable to believe their expert had been killed in one strike. Thunderous cheers erupted from the city walls. "Young Prince." War God. With fewer than 5,000 wounded soldiers left, the city relied entirely on me to hold off the legendary Venerable and his army. My display of power ignited the humans' morale. As long as I stood, they had hope. "Not bad," Dalawan Venerable said coldly. "Send 2 more." "Yes." 2 more Nirvana realm warriors charged. "Humph." My sword erupted with cold light. 1 sword light piece. The peerless technique pierced through both warriors. 2 more corpses fell to the earth. Who else dares to fight? I stood tall, white robes fluttering, my sword dripping with blood. Dalawan Venerable sneered. "I knew it. You can't move, can you? You're trapped as the formation eye, relying only on bursts of power." I remained silent, my gaze fixed on the Venerable. I was indeed immobile. I could move less than 10 meters. Exceeding that would collapse the array, leaving the millions of citizens to be slaughtered. "Excellent." Dalawan Venerable laughed cruelly. "Send 10 more. Let's see how long you can last." "Shameless." "It's a war of attrition," the defenders cried, their hearts burning with rage. They were devastated that no human prodigy had reached the Ranshan realm to assist the young prince. "Come, let me slay 10 more." I shook my sword, the true emperor sword humming in anticipation of battle. I never intended to retreat. I would face them head-on to show the myriad races that humanity fears no one. Overestimating yourself. 10 warriors surrounded me. Jinhuang sword shadow. 1 sword light piece. I poured my internal force and gang chi into my sword, clashing with the 10 attackers. Because I couldn't move, the 10 coordinated their attacks, preventing me from landing a killing blow. "Send 10 more." Dalawan Venerable roared. The defenders on the walls watched in agony as their only hope was swarmed. Swish! 10 more joined. I knew I couldn't retreat. I would defend until death. Gritting my teeth, I fought on, but the pressure of 20 warriors forced me into a defensive stance. 10 more. Dalawan Venerable chuckled. Now, 30 Nirvana realm warriors surrounded me. As they attacked, I was struck in the back. Humph! A deep, bone-reaching wound opened on my back, staining my robes red. "Fight!" I roared, forcing my attacker back. "We'll grant your wish." The 30 warriors feinted and struck, trying to bait me into exposing my guard. Swish! I parried a giant blade but was struck by a hammer, forcing me to cough up blood. I was knocked back 3 steps, but I forced myself to stop. I could not let the formation break. The internal impact caused me to vomit more blood as I stabilized my position. Why bother? Even a genius like you will die today. Kneel and surrender. The 30 warriors closed in, sneering. Kneel. I wiped the blood from my lips, my eyes burning with defiance. Only in death. Kill him. The 30 warriors roared, lunging forward. Fine. Then I'll kill you all before I fall. My roar was filled with arrogant pride. The people on the walls watched their white-clad champion fight to the death. In my desperation, I unleashed my hidden potential, my sword becoming a blur of steel. 3 or 4 warriors fell from the sky. Retreat, 1 warrior shouted in shock. My energy seemed inexhaustible. They decided to wait for my burst of power to fade. The alien warriors mocked the prince as if he were a performing monkey. The soldiers on the walls watched with gritted teeth, burning with helpless rage. Gao Shun suppressed his urge to join the fray, leading his troops toward the Su prince's mansion instead. He remembered my orders. If the prince fell, he must evacuate the household immediately. Trying to run? I sneered, raising my hands to the void. The Jinhuang precious sword hovered between my palms like a pillar of heaven. Thunderous might empower me. I roared, my eyes wide with fury, radiating the aura of a war god. Thunder cascaded from the heavens, wrapping around the Jinhuang precious sword. Let the thunder bolster my strength to purge these deceivers. With a guttural cry, I gripped the hilt and swung downward. The lightning transformed into ferocious dragons, lunging toward the Nirvana realm warriors. The alien warriors trembled in terror as the heavenly thunder descended. Dalawan Venerable roared, attempting to intervene, but it was too late. The lightning struck instantly, reducing the alien warriors to ash. Aided by the incomplete immortal formation, my strike obliterated 30 Nirvana realm alien warriors. This feat surpassed most alien heavenly prides on the Four Directions continent. As the corpses fell, I stood tall, my gaze cold as I locked eyes with Dalawan Venerable. From today on, mountains may be shaken, but the human race shall not. I pointed my sword at Dalawan Venerable, my tone so arrogant it unsettled the Venerable. For a moment, I felt like the master of the world, my killing intent overwhelming. Dalawan Venerable felt a chill. He could not let this human survive. If he grows, the Dark Knight race will have no future. I underestimated you, brat. Dalawan Venerable's face twisted in rage. He realized the sword's ability to summon lightning was the key to my victory. Very well. I will show you the true meaning of power. A mere human using a formation to reach Nirvana? Below the legendary realm, all are ants. Kneel. Dalawan Venerable summoned massive golden wheels that blotted out the sky, pressing down on me with crushing force. The overwhelming aura of the legendary realm finally made me understand why they were called ants. The pressure was suffocating, enough to crush ordinary Nirvana realm warriors instantly. The Venerable's pure gang chi squeezed me, threatening to shatter my body. Old thief, I will kill you all even if I die today. I roared, refusing to retreat. Behind me lay the Imperial capital. If I moved, millions would perish. One sword light piece, topple the world. I thrust my sword upward, meeting the golden wheels head-on. A deafening metallic clash echoed, rattling the souls of all who heard it. Clang. The sword hummed, halted by the sheer power gap. You have no chance. You die today. Dalawan Venerable sneered, increasing the pressure. Without my recent power boost, I would have been crushed already. Even so, I was barely holding on. The minor star array's protective barrier groaned under the strain, beginning to crack. If the barrier broke, the remaining alien army would slaughter the city. Rarark, I roared, blood leaking from my lips as I anchored myself, refusing to yield an inch. The soldiers on the walls watched with agonizing helplessness. Millions of citizens looked up, witnessing the white-robed youth holding back the golden sky. It's the prince. The city fell silent, watching the stubborn, tragic figure in the sky. I could have fled, abandoning the millions. Instead, I chose to stand at the front line, choosing death over cowardice. The Sioux family's iron-blooded pride was the only reason humanity hadn't been wiped out. Not bad, you can still hold on. Dalawan Venerable smirked and gestured for Mike to approach. Uncle. Mike flew up, his wounds healed by tribal medicine. Go, pay him back for what he did to you. Let these lowly humans see that their race will never rise. Mike grinned, rubbing his hands together as he approached. He sneered at the struggling prince. Pathetic. Why must you oppose the Dark Knight race? I'll show you the consequences. Mike struck at my chest. I couldn't dodge or counter without dropping the barrier and dooming the city. I had no choice but to take the hits. Bam! Mike's fist slammed into my gang chi. I remained unmoved, sneering. Is that all? A defeated dog still wants to bite. Hardmouth, aren't you? Mike signaled the other Nirvana realm experts. Together, let's break his bones. Understood. The experts swarmed me, raining blows upon me. Bam! 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 They unleashed a barrage of vicious attacks on the defenseless prince. Uffed. I swallowed the blood rising in my throat. My prince. The soldiers roared in agony, teeth shattering from their own suppressed rage. Still not falling. Mike grabbed my chin, staring into my dark, defiant eyes. Why the hatred in your eyes? Are you bitter about your weakness, or the incompetence of your human race, which offers you no help? Mike sneered, patting my cheek with humiliating force. Look at these people below. Are they truly worth your sacrifice? I know your father is god of war Su Long, famous across the Four Directions continent. I wonder, if he saw you dying here, would he hate these peasants, or your own foolishness. Slap! Mike struck me with a palm reinforced by Gang Chi, drawing blood. Kneel. Submit, and I shall spare your life. Get lost. I roared, my spirit unyielding. I am the human race's god of war. I would rather die than kneel. The citizens of the Imperial capital watched in agony, wishing they had the strength to assist their young prince. That is our god of war. He is suffering for us. Damn the alien races. I hate my own weakness. I hate that I cannot fly up to help him fight. Grief echoed through the crowd. They wept and clenched their fists, consumed by self-loathing. Mommy, I don't want the young prince to die, a child sobbed. The mother comforted the child. Don't cry. He is the next god of war. He is invincible. Yet, her voice trembled with a doubt she dared not voice. With a legendary realm expert pressing down, could the prince hold on? Was the capital truly destined to fall? Inside the Su prince's mansion, Gao Shun urged, Military advisor Nian, we must go. The young master ordered that you three must be kept safe. My master protects millions alone, yet you want us to flee like cowards. Nian looked toward the horizon, her eyes fixed on the small white figure beneath the golden wheel. He is my hero, the hero of humanity, Nian declared, while Gao Shun choked back tears. The sounds of battle and the taunts of the alien races pierced Gao Shun and Sujio's hearts like blades. Say no more. If you dies today, I shall follow him to the grave. Nian sat cross-legged on the grass, her blue robe spread out. Shangwan Wanner and Lingener sat beside her, their eyes filled with tears, silently pledging their lives to him. Outside, Mike sneered. So, you have a hard spine? He drew his short halberd. Let's see if your bones are harder than my Dark Knight race's weapons. His Nirvana realm subordinates drew their blades. Kneel! Mike roared, slamming his halberd into my chest. Blood sprayed as a deep, bone-reaching wound opened in my chest. I gritted my teeth, my body trembling, yet I held my sword firm against the golden wheel. Your weapon is too weak. Again, I laughed wildly, blood staining my lips. Is that all? Come again. My roar shook the heavens, moving the entire city. Fine, let's see how many strikes you can take. Attack! Mike and his experts unleashed a flurry of strikes upon me. Soon, I was covered in wounds, my clothes shredded and my hair disheveled. My white cloak was soaked in blood. Young prince. The soldiers cried out in despair and fury. Blood dripped onto the walls, mingling with the soldiers' tears of humiliation. I panted, my eyes burning with cold intent as I stared at Mike. Last chance. Kneel and die, or suffer a humiliating death, Mike taunted. Mike looked at me with utter contempt. You are alone and helpless. I retorted, come. I seek only death today. My aura surged. If I survive, I will hunt the Dark Knight race, shatter your monuments, and slaughter your capital. My vow echoed across the land. You won't get the chance. Mike growled. Kill him. Make him suffer. Huh. Let us fight. I screamed. I only regret that my sword is not sharp enough to kill all who insult me. A terrifying aura exploded from me. The courage of one who refuses to move, even in the face of certain death. Dalawan Venerable grew anxious, fearing my threat of future vengeance. Quick, kill him, Dalawan Venerable commanded. This youth's talent and pride were too dangerous to leave alive. Mike and his Nirvana realm warriors gathered their Gang Chi for a final strike. Dalawan Venerable channeled his power, intending to crush me with the golden wheel. Come, it is only death. I smiled, ignoring the system's desperate warnings to retreat. A true man must protect his bloodline. I am a Su. I do not fear death. Dizziness from blood loss set in, but my hands remained locked like stone. He's failing. Kill him. Mike raised his halberd. Suddenly, a thunderous roar erupted. The horizon trembled as if a stampede of beasts or a storm of iron cavalry was approaching. A black line appeared on the horizon. That is... Mike and Dalawan Venerable froze. No, it's the black jade cavalry. Dalawan Venerable's face twisted in panic. Kill the brat now. Before he could act, a voice boomed. Who dares kill Su Long's son? The roar shook the clouds and silenced the world. A streak of bloody light tore across the sky. A blood-dripping sword descended, shattering the golden wheel instantly. The wheel crumbled like glass. The blood-red sword hovered before me, vibrating with murderous sword intent. Dalawan Venerable vomited blood as the wheel shattered. Pale and trembling, he stared at the horizon. It's Sulong. Sulong had returned at the final moment to intervene in the battle. A thunderous rumble echoed. The Black Jade Cavalry arrived instantly, clad in black armor and masks, their eyes cold and lethal. These heavy cavalry units encircled the Black Giant Beast Legion, forming a counter-siege. A sharp hiss erupted. Their mounts, the elite fire cloud warhorses of the Baishui realm, exhaled scorching steam. A blood-red sword hummed, casting a crimson flash across the sky. A middle-aged man with black hair and a face strikingly similar to mine descended, standing atop his blood-red sword with an air of arrogant, towering fury. Who gave you the audacity to besiege my son? Sulong's voice boomed like thunder, shattering the internal force of the Dark Knight race's Nirvana realm martial artists, including Mike. Sulong's power was absolute. A single roar dispersed the strength of dozens of Nirvana experts. He was truly the #1 legendary realm martial artist on the Four Directions continent. It was no wonder the Orc Empire's 8 legends could not touch him. Human soldiers roared in excitement from the walls. It's God of War Su. With both generations of the God of War present, the aliens trembled like mice before a cat. The city erupted in cheers, hailing the return of the God of War and his legendary sword. The Dark Knight experts and Dalawan Venerable retreated in terror, fearing Sulong's notorious, ruthless temper. Attacking his son was a death sentence no legendary expert dared to face. Father, I, leaning heavily on my sword, murmured weakly. Seeing my father's familiar, sturdy back, warmth flooded my heart. I was not alone. The sight of the terrified Dalawan Venerable proved that no alien would dare act recklessly now. Don't worry, I'll handle this. Anyone who bullied you will pay with their lives. Sulong's voice was cold with killing intent. He had heard my cry of grief from 100 miles away. His heart bled to see his son besieged by these shameless beasts. Known for his overwhelming power and protective nature, Sulong was a dragon among men. He had secretly watched over me since my exile to Haishi County, only intervening when necessary. He had only recalled his hidden guards when he thought the situation was stable, only to find the capital under siege. He was livid that the Dark Knight race dared to threaten his son. Venerable Su, this is a misunderstanding. We didn't know he was your son. Dalawan Venerable stammered, clutching his chest. Misunderstanding? Do I look blind to you? Sulong roared. Venerable Su, please, calm down. The aliens pleaded, their faces pale. Seeing Sulong's murderous gaze, Mike and the others quickly sheathed their weapons in surrender. You besieged my capital and bullied my only son. Do you think I'm deaf and blind? Sulong pointed at my blood-soaked robes, snarling, Look at him. I will return the favor tenfold. The aliens begged for mercy, terrified. Sulong was peerless in his rank. Dalawan Venerable stood no chance. Sword come. Sulong summoned his blade. Can you still fight? I replied, Father, hold off the Venerable. I will execute the rest myself. I gripped my true Emperor's sword, my eyes locked on Mike and the others. Good. Sulong laughed and flashed before Dalawan Venerable. He pressed his blade against the Venerable's throat. Stay still, or I will destroy your martial foundation. Dalawan Venerable broke into a cold sweat, paralyzed by fear. He hadn't even seen Sulong move. The gap in their strength was despairing.